Good evening. I'd like to call the December 3rd, 2025 Board of Education meeting to order at 7:03 p.m. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Righty. Professor Willett, I think we might have some acknowledgements tonight.
So we sure do. Very exciting night. We have the young men's Tolland Public Schools soccer team here, who, as you know, are champions. I think everybody's aware of your championship status. Not only are they champions this year, they've been champions last year, and they've always been champions in some way. So I'm just going to read a little introduction and then give it to the board to ask some questions. I'd also like to recognize head coach Mike Kakumo. He's here probably in the back somewhere there. So, thank you for being here tonight. Coach Bryce Aston is also here. And volunteer assistant Ryan Siroy is here as well, somewhere in back. So maybe you guys could stand up real quick just so the board can see you. They did a great job this season. Also, Tim McCluskey, our athletic supervisor, is here. Just so stand away. He's almost, well, I was going to say tall enough that you can all see everyone. Just a quick introduction. The 2025 Tolland High School boys soccer team, young men's soccer team, completed a truly historic season, capturing back-to-back Class M state championships, marking the program's fourth state title and becoming the first Class M team in Central Connecticut Conference history to win the CCC tournament. They also secured the CCC North Division co-championship and made conference history as the first team to ever win both the league and state championships in the same year, finishing with a amazing record of 21-3 overall. The Eagles posted the most single-season victories in school history, scoring a program best 83 goals, tallied 13 shutouts, and outscored state tournament opponents 26-4. Unanimously ranked number one in Class MS all season, Tolland spent the entire year in Connecticut's top 10 for the New England Soccer Journal, and ultimately finished number 2 in the state and number 52 nationally as ranked by Max Preps. The team featured 15 different goal scorers, allowed more than 2 goals only once, and earned numerous individual honors, including all conference selections for Andrew Chowder, Reed Babcock, and Jack Dorfler, Jackson Silve, and Jonathan Adagio. All state recognition for Chater and Babcock, and senior bowl selections for both standouts. They have done an incredible job this season as a team. And thank you guys. You just are awesome. Now, next week at the town council meeting, you'll be getting a proclamation, which is highly honorable. Tonight, we have a choice of either chocolate for you or the Tolland merch of different schools. So you'll be able to, when we're done tonight, choose between Tolland merch or chocolate. I think there's about 16 or 17 of the Tolland merch, which the tariffs are making incredibly expensive. So you tell somebody on the ground money. Or the chocolate. Okay, so when we're done, I'd just like to hand that out to you guys. Okay, nice job. Nice job. Board, you guys have anything you wanted to throw out there?
I'd just like to say congratulations to all of you. Thank you for coming tonight and letting us share this with you a little bit. Super proud, amazing. Can't even imagine all the hours and hours of your lives that you guys have put into to this. So congratulations. Congratulations, coaches. Thank you for everything that you do for our players. And congratulations to the parents. I think as parents, we all know that without you guys driving them back and forth to practices and lots of travel with soccer too, right? Tournaments and camps, etc. So thank you for letting us share in this moment with you.
Is that Tim or guys, coaches? You guys want to throw anything out into?
Yeah. Sure, I guess. Well, we have our captains are sitting in the front row here, and we brought the plaque to show you. If you guys want to show it. So, championship plaque.
I'll be like, away. Nice.
Great.
That's really nice.
Awesome. Very cool. Who gets to hold on to this?
So this is gonna end up going into the trophy case of the high school. We presented Mr. McCluskey with a couple different items last night that'll be on display with the game ball. We got like a state champion poster, we won, so the players all, we gave him one of these, we're gonna give you one of these as well.
Thank you. And I have last year's one too.
Well, we kind of told you last year that we'd be here this year, so. Not that we,
So we'll see you next year.
what's that?
So we'll see you next year.
And we never say never, right? These guys, to be honest, I mean, they work hard. I know that, as members of the school and whatnot, what it takes to be a top-notch, student and whatnot, but every day these guys are top of their game. So being here was not because, we were handed this, right? They went out and they earned it. And a lot of the stats and statistics that Mr. Willett read, that you can't make that stuff up, right? That you have to go out there and you gotta do it. So it helps having 16 seniors and those 16 seniors were champions last year. But we talk about what the year ahead's gonna be, like that's gonna be the impact of the guys that are sitting here and how much they provided for those guys that are gonna return next year. So will we be here next year? Well, we'll do our best to be here next year and just like we did to be here this year. And it's a very motivated group. It's a very motivated program. We have a lot of pride in what we do at the high school level. These guys work throughout the summer nonstop. A lot of guys are here today instead of being at their club practices. We have a lot of guys that aren't here today because they're at their club practices. So they're very dedicated to what they do. It doesn't happen by accident, that's for sure. So,
Well, there's definitely no accident and you guys did incredible job.
Yeah.
When you're like 54, you're gonna walk into the building and you're gonna have your kids dragging all over you. Yeah.
we ordered rings. We've been celebrated to the full extent. Championship rings last year. We did it again this year. We appreciate these honors, the Board of Ed, town council meetings. We have a schedule ready to go back to the state capitol in February and celebrate that way. So, I mean, these guys deserve it. And obviously, doing this is not something that just comes along because we feel we deserve it, right? You got to go out and you got to earn it to do it. So, and they're a great group. I can't say enough about them. So,
Thank you. Any of the young athletes, you guys want to say anything?
yeah, but I was like, yeah.
Four in the front row.
Thank you for having us.
So, can I ask a question? So, who are the captains, just to clarify here? Are you all seniors?
Yes, sir.
All seniors? How many of you are freshmen? Any freshmen in here? Two freshmen back there? All right. Seniors, are you guys playing at the next level? Are you thinking of playing at the next level? Anybody decided yet?
Yeah, I'm going over to England next year.
Oh, no kidding. Attaboy. All right. All right. Good stuff.
Oh,
Have we decided yet? Not decided. It's kind of
I'm like 97% sure.
97.
That's awesome. This is, and I have to shout out somebody, one of your coaches back there was in my graduating class, Ryan Soroy. This guy was a ridiculous soccer player. So the fact that you guys have him, helping your coaches and coaching you guys, I mean, you are blessed. So, good dude, amazing soccer player. So
He's got the single season goal scoring record at the high school,
There you
29
go.
goals the senior year.
there you go.
He's not getting volunteer, right? And he's there every day and trains the goalies a lot and it's a lot of work throughout the season. So
you guys ever get butterflies before a game? Yeah. They'll make it happen.
we talk about it all the time. We talk about like if you didn't have nerves, we'd be concerned, right? We'd be thinking you didn't care enough about it. You weren't having those. But I mean, again, we were in this situation 2 years in a row. So I think this year when police escort happened and we went to Dillon Stadium, Trinity Hill Stadium and did that, I think there was a little less nerves because they've kind of walked in that environment before.
Yeah.
Um,
You guys have a ritual or something?
Picture superstitions.
Oh, what is it?
Superstitions for some people.
Yeah.
definitely have some stuff for us, things that we.
You want to share the superstition? Wait.
Yeah, so I wear the same socks.
Oh, yeah.
That's great.
A lot of the guys put on like certain tape a certain way and, us as coaches have our own little, superstition together and. Right, semifinals against Plainville, 0-0. I'm like, I knew I forgot something and it was our, I would buy the same snacks every game,
Yeah.
just to keep in the bag, just to have them. Like, well,
They make the movie about you guys.
Serious.
I should, enough, especially right.
So manager?
Yes, so Tori is our manager.
Thank you, Tori.
It's a huge addition this year for us. Just a lot of what held us together, kind of, very, very motherly to the players. If they need stuff, help them out with things, get them this, get them that. But also very like, put them in their place. They're not doing their stuff, just kind of like an extension of us as coaches, But that, it comes down to having good leaders, right? So even with 16 seniors, keeping them entertained every day, keeping them into it, but they'd probably, have friends and all that stuff. And, when there's football games and stuff like that going on the weekend, and we're saying, we have a game tomorrow, you should go to bed, eat right, all that stuff. So obviously, again, like that's the stuff that they do when they're not with us is why they're champions. Because it would have been easy to do, things their buddies are doing and all that stuff, but they're focused, they're driven, they're into it mentally. That's the key. So.
So that was sacrifice. We're very proud of you. And so was Tolland. So thank you for helping put Tolland on the map. I really appreciate that. Real estate values have probably gone up just because. They're doing good.
The praise from the soccer community, from the CIAC perspective, the praise these guys have gotten. There's a lot of media publications this year with different stories that they did on our program, and not that added some pressure, but it added some pressure a little bit. You want to look good, feel good, play good, do all those things, and these guys handled every bit of the season at a top level. So. Definitely, spoke colleagues to it, so.
Is there any sophomores on the team?
Yeah, we have a really good mix. Jackson's here right now, right? Sophomore.
I'm just thinking, to start your high school soccer career with 2 state championships, you're spoiled already. I see at least one little leaguer I had as a player, Braden back there, but looking at this program the last 2 years, watching you guys win 2 state championships, it's not only a testament to the players, but as coaches to build a whole program instead of just a team. That's something that we've talked about with baseball, as Jade and I coach baseball, but that's a testament to you 3 as coaches, as well as the other stuff that's happening here in Tolland to bring up such quality players.
Yeah.
So congratulations on that as well.
Well, in the summertime, we run a camp for Tolland Soccer Club. We run our Eagle Soccer Camp, with the girls program together. And a lot of the guys that are here now, when I first started coaching, they were kids at that camp. So that kind of helps to get this, going, get the train going in the right direction.
Yeah.
So, and obviously when you're going through and having guys like Ryan as a senior and they're the ones helping out of those camps, there's a lot of full circle moments that come every season. It kind of hammers home more when they're champions, it kind of sticks out a little more. But we have a great group of middle schoolers, and we did a lot to help that group this year, and a good group coming in next year. We're definitely with their freshman year, we lost the semifinals. Sophomore year, we lost in the quarterfinals. Those years, I would think that we probably were the favorites in the Class M bracket. So this really could have been, if it was for a bounce or whatever here or there, could have been 4 championships in a row. We were definitely a top team in those brackets, their freshman and sophomore years. So, another word, like people say a dynasty and all that stuff, and we're not professional sports and whatnot, but it's because these guys choose to show up and do it every day, throughout the whole year, right? They choose to kind of do their job. And then summertime comes and they're 1,000 miles an hour. That makes preseason very easy. So.
I just want to say congratulations to all of you. You truly epitomize what a true champion is. I always correlate sports to your studies in school. Everybody can make an A, but can you keep that A? Yeah. You made that A last year at the highest level possible, and you got another A this year. So that's even better. So congrats all of you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
That was the message, right? We walked into the tournament this year, we're walking in, we're in the crown, and the challenge was not to us, it was to them to take it from us, so that was definitely the message we gave every game, so.
I would be remiss if I didn't say anything. I sit with a lot of your moms and dads in the stadium, in the stands. Some of you I know well, some of you I don't. I only know because my kids idolize you guys. You guys are really role models on and off the field. So what you guys did, what I saw last night at the awards, there was academic awards and teammate awards and coaches awards. And then several of you guys I see out there volunteering and coaching different things, flag football and what have you. I have an 11-year-old sitting at home that was practicing the corner kick. And he's like, am I going to be the jack hitter? And then I'm going to hit it to Mason and he's going to hit it in like Vaughn. What they're going to do their senior year, like literally that's what 10 and 11-year-olds are doing at my house because of what you guys do. They talk about you guys at home. You guys are role models. So I appreciate from a mom who comes and watches the sport, but understand what you're doing for kids in Tolland, both boys and girls, and even what our girls soccer team are doing, what our football team is doing. You know, I'm sat with your moms and dads like freaking out in the stadiums. You're not my kids, but you're Tolland's kids. So thank you for what you did. I'm really proud and congratulations.
Thank you.
Good. Any other board members or civil questions?
Take a picture.
What's coming? Do you guys do winter programs? A lot of you guys? Yeah.
Like club teams.
Is that, so that was the club teams that you were sort of?
Yeah, a lot of these guys play, club soccer, whether it's CFC or FSA or different club soccers. There's a huge contingency of Tolland rec basketball players here. At the high school level, I recognize
Some of them.
the draft was yesterday, so I know they're very into that.
Oh.
Tolland Idol is Friday night. And I believe might be something going on with this group of guys.
I hope
that
so.
night.
I hope so.
You don't want to fall off the championship pedestal from that performance stuff. You want to kind of. So you work on it. Good.
Yeah, good.
But yeah, no, I mean, again, they're driven, dedicated. I mean, you can go in the summertime, Monday, Wednesday mornings, like 6:15, these guys are there. We have a trainer that comes and works with them and they're going, like they're flying. So they spend, 6, 7 days and 5, 6 days together, training in the summertime. So these guys, they put in the work like other teams do. But they definitely put in the effort, so.
You guys, let's see if we can get you in here. Yeah, maybe some of you fall back a little bit more,
Full chocolate.
You don't. I know. It's hard if you got one Wait, should we just?
Should we just go around?
You guys want to go?
I think that's where. Do the backlash. All our guys by the flag. Yeah, yes, reading goes.
Some of you.
Big job. They're all right. See you. I was looking. Sure, guys, why don't you just like this? And read, maybe you guys slide like a little bit. Cheers, roll, guys.
The BOE was in the picture last year too.
Maybe lost.
No, the kids.
Are you guys ready? Good.
Good job, guys. Hey, do me a favor. On the these bags, grab what you want. And you see that one each. Grab what you want for the bags. Up there.
Oh, yeah.
Put the camera out. Left over.
Yeah, like that.
I know. I'll have to ask for special permission. Are you senior? Sorry.
So, yeah, we're gonna
Here.
meet a lot of these guys.
So.
All right, sure. Yeah. Okay. All right, I'll see you there. Hey, guys, now the purpose was to recognize you. So when you are ready, you can stay around for the whole meeting if you'd like.
Trying to go to lock up. Taking class.
Yeah, yeah.
But I mean, you could project. It has. Put it in the. A team of work. Yeah, those great.
Happy, so.
You got.
Hello, that just said.
Yes.
I know.
I know, the raw material though.
Well, Dr. Willett, you can pull that.
I know, I gotta put it all.
Still online, everything.
I am gonna need
We all strip it back there.
Don't remember.
I think we're on the actual. There you go. You got it. Oh.
I didn't get
My God. Oh,
I did, thank you.
bye.
Okay,
All right.
rolling along. We have do we have any additions to the agenda?
Nope, and just a friendly reminder, we're gonna move Attorney Ritter up.
That's right, yeah. Do I need to motion for that, or can I just do that?
So you could either, you could jump to that part of the agenda.
Okay, I will jump to that. Should we do that? Should we still go through?
These pieces maybe go through
Okay.
for them.
Still learning. Okay, we have no approval of the minutes. Public participation. The members of the Tolland Board of Education welcome members of the public to share their thoughts and ideas at this time. When appropriate to do so, members of the board and the administration may Respond to comments during points of information. However, in consideration of those in attendance and in an effort to proceed in a timely manner, follow-up discussion may need to take place outside of the meeting setting. So, Dr. Willett, can you get our 2-minute timer ready, please?
Okay.
I just realized I'm not on the Zoom, so if you could let me in. Great. And, okay, do we have anyone in the room who would like to participate at this time? What? Please give your name and address.
Becca Mary, 8 Lisa Lane. I'm a junior at Tolland High School. I've been in the school system or Tolland Public Schools since pre-K. Every year it's gotten worse. The budget has gotten worse. There's less and less teachers every single year. There's just walking through the hallway, the empty rooms that, like, I know Jaden, you graduated a couple years ago that had teachers.
Take a couple.
And now they're gone. There was teachers that just got certified to teach UConn level classes, and then they got cut. So there's less opportunities for students. Classes are full, and there's just not an opportunity for the highest quality of education. And that's what we all want, is the highest quality of education for everyone. And that's not what's happening here. Going to something like the extracurriculars, the rollouts for this new system of extracurriculars this year was a complete and total mess. Nobody knew what was happening. Communication was awful. The knowing whether or not clubs were going to happen was not very timely. It was a mess that is going to have issues with club attendance for a while. The $85 price tag is unacceptable. For clubs used to be $40 last year. That is over a 100% increase in cost. And for a person that's in more than that's in, like, I'm personally in 5 clubs. I'm fortunate, or 5+ clubs. I'm fortunate enough that most of the clubs that I'm in are no cost clubs because of fundraising. Because there had from fundraising from organizations that had to be set up because of this mess, like such as Friend with Tolland Music for Tolland's Drama Club. And it's sad that over the summer there was a frantic rush. Anyone in any music-based club or drama club to fundraise $500 a student. That's ridiculous. That you had to go, people had to go texting their relatives, can I have some money for a club? And it makes you feel bad that you have to go ask your relatives for money. Nobody wants to do that. But that's the reality that had to be faced. There's a school, there's not enough school nurses. If there's a 504 meeting, there's no nurse to be able to respond to an emergency. That's just unacceptable. The quality of education has gone down significantly. And it's just depressing. Thank you.
Is there anyone online who would like to speak at this time?
They would have to raise their hand in Zoom.
Okay. Anyone in the room? Popping back online, please raise your hand online if you'd like to speak. Room one more time. Okay, all set. Dr. Willett, I'll close out the solution, please. You're moving on to correspondence. Dina?
We had a couple of emails, one specifically, one to give from Mr. Holt, our chair, wishing us a happy Thanksgiving and thanking us for what we're about to embark on the next few years. And then we had another one regarding the rec center basketball that has been addressed with our rec center and Dr. Wood to see if we can't do that travel basketball young ladies.
Thank you. Next points of information. If any board member would like to speak at this time?
Yes, Frosty Fest is this weekend. It's been moved over to TIS.
And now as of, I believe it was either late last night or this morning, they're still looking for volunteers.
I believe,
So that's usually just for the Birch Grove and TIS students.
yep, I believe those
Yeah,
sign
and the
up
book fair is
on,
happening too.
on Facebook.
Yeah.
On the PTO website or Facebook site.
All right.
Anybody else?
Yeah, I had the I was fortunate enough to attend last night's awards at the high school for all our athletes. So I know we just acknowledged the boys two-time state champs, but I also want to take this opportunity to say congrats to all of our athletes for our school. It's a it's a tough task to manage school and to be an athlete at the same time. It's not something that everybody's able to do. So I commend them all for their efforts, seeing, whether they're, conference nominees or academic folks, whatever the case may be, they still represent the Tolland Eagles. So congrats to all of them and thanks for their efforts this past fall.
I think what you all said. I too was there. We have our exchange daughter is a cheerleader this year, so that's been new for us. And I was able to attend the sports awards and they go into separate rooms and cheer was short, so we got to catch some the ladies soccer. But I want to go back to what Joelle was saying before. All the different awards, and it's something that I mentioned to Elaine GP that when they were calling up those scholars, they were calling up the Edwin All-State and all the coaches awards, and there was every student athlete in all the sports were the amount of scholar athletes and the amount of different names they were calling up there. These kiddos or these young adults, I should say, aren't just, they're athletes, they're role models, they're leaders, they're scholar athletes, and what they have to do to balance it. So not just our athletes, but our students in clubs. The future is strong with Tolland Public Schools with our students, and there was a really great showing last night. I couldn't, like, the entire young ladies soccer team was up there as scholar athletes, and it blew me away. There wasn't even enough space to put them on. So just a really great showing overall. And Mr. McCluskey and the athletic department did a great job last night.
Moving on to our student representatives report.
Hi, so a couple weeks ago, we had our Dollar Wars week, which includes Dollar Wars, a badminton tournament from the week prior, and then also a Smith pop-up event, which are things like basketball, mini golf, and basically the events that pop up at lunch so you can pay to try to win points for your class that contribute to the Dollar Wars. In total, from all those events, we raised $984.66, which some students from Smith went out that weekend to buy the cans. And then on Monday, we went on a field trip to Cornerstone to drop it off.
So on November 24th, we went to Cornerstone Foundation and we donated a bunch of goods like pasta and canned goods. And we also, while we were there, we got a tour of how everything works, where they sleep, how the food is processed over there. And it really impacted a lot of us and made people feel good about themselves for what they did. And on the trip, they gave away prom dresses and suits during prom season, and that inspired us to plan one for our upcoming prom.
Thank you. Anybody have any questions?
Just a clarifying question. So with the suits and what was that about?
It's like, so if anyone doesn't have, like, can't afford to buy prom dresses or prom suits, they're like giving away some during the prom season so that they don't have to spend money on it.
That's awesome. And that's through Cornerstone?
Yes.
That's awesome. Thank you.
That's fantastic. I'm really glad you guys are partnering with.
No, the TIS food drive, that went to Cornerstone or to the local pantry there?
I'm not sure,
Okay.
but I know they do, I think the high school does the Cornerstone. And a lot of ours, the younger kids to the local.
Okay, moving on to the committee and liaison reports. I just thought we could use this time to check in and just see where our chairs are with scheduling our committee meetings. So Jaden, do you want to start with policy?
Sure. Policies, first meeting, I want to say January 26th, 28th, 26th.
What day of the week?
Oh, gosh.
I thought that'd be easier than the fourth one.
There you go.
There. Okay. Fourth one.
So, there you go. So, but those will begin after the new year.
Great. Sounds good. How about you, Brian?
I just gotta follow up with Jen tomorrow, but we're hoping to have it on the same time. It might be moved an hour, so.
That time, so.
Yeah.
So that change.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's in the works.
You, Dana?
Our first meeting is the 21st of January. Jen just needs to publish the year calendar.
Do you know what day and time those?
It's the
Third.
FFC, the third Wednesday typically of the month at 5:30.
And Joelle, curriculum?
Yeah, curriculum right now, the whole schedule is out for the whole year. And our first meeting is January 28th at, sorry, not 17:30, 5:30. Sorry, I'm still living in the military. So 5:30. It used to be 6, but we're moving it to 5:30 so that we have enough time to come or have Dr. Roy come back and set up. So 5:30, January 28th, first one.
Great.
Thank you.
All right, thanks, guys. For chairperson's report, I don't really have anything prepared. We have a lot to take in tonight with the roles and responsibilities and the board goals that will be starting and the superintendent's goals. So I look forward to letting our experts lead us through those processes and the conversation that will ensue. And so now why don't we jump to new business L1, which is the roles and responsibilities training from Jessica Ritter from Shipman and Goodwin. Hi, Jess.
Hi, guys.
Hello.
Hello. How are you?
Good, how are you?
Good, good. That's in the pictures. Thank you. Up here.
I volunteer.
It's extra if you want to sponsor.
All right, so I don't want to be in the way here. Do you want me to just jump in, Dr. Willett?
Yes.
Okay, so I know most of you. It's nice to see you. Jessica Ritter with Shipman and Goodwin. I've been asked here today to give kind of a brief overview and really emphasize what your legal roles and responsibilities are. Many of you are seasoned board members, but for those of you who are new, congratulations, by the way. I'm happy to answer any questions. What I'm going to do, and then Jen, you tell me what you're thinking about for time, because I do know that you have many other things to attend to. So just let me know. What I'm briefly going to do is in your packet, I've given just a brief outline that I'm going to touch upon that, again, will just emphasize some of the things that in our limited amount of time, I think are good takeaways. Then in this packet, I've put together numerous scenarios that are all derived from actual concerns or issues that we've had with our clients at Shipman and Goodwin. I obviously have to keep it anonymous for attorney-client privilege reasons, but they're all scenarios that many boards will encounter or face. And I always think that it's very helpful to kind of talk it through as a group. And so I certainly encourage participation. But if you aren't comfortable doing that, I will just kind of walk us through the answers. Please feel free to stop me at any time with any questions. So let me start here with the outline that I've given you. So as a Board of Education, you are an agent of the state. So what that means is actually within, just to give you some framework, within our Connecticut Constitution, our legislature has specifically delegated responsibility to our local boards of education to implement what's called the educational interests of the state. That's actually codified in Title 10. So if you ever got really bored and you wanted to look at all of the educational statutes that govern Connecticut law, It's all built in Title 10, and it really talks about what your statutory responsibilities are. I will tell you that the number one priority is, and it's directly taken from the statute, to implement the educational interests of the state. And then it also talks about to implement the best interests for students within Tolland. So I say that because I know that you're all here because you care about your community. It's wonderful. Your soccer team, I was a soccer player, so that was really exciting for me to get to see. You have wonderful student representatives here, involved students. I know that that's why you all decided to run. And so I just would say, particularly for some of our newer board members, whenever you question, why did I do this? Because it will be daunting at sometimes. You will be here for late nights, particularly those who've been involved in our negotiations, but it always comes back to the students, right? And that is actually codified in the law. The other thing that I would say for you is you are a policymaker for the district. So when we think about the three branches of government, think back to middle school or to high school, right? We learn about executive, legislative, and judicial functions. You are the legislative function. You make the policy for the school, and then you allow other people to implement those policies that you create. You sometimes will serve in a quasi judicial capacity, which I will circle back to. But that's what you should be thinking about. Big picture, I implement policy, and then I rely on my CEO, my superintendent of schools, and his administration to implement and handle the daily operational matters. You are big picture. You are not involved in the day-to-day administrative functions. I want to talk briefly now about your rights as board members. So this will come up a lot, and I will cover this in a few scenarios. But you only, as Board of Education members, have the authority to act at a meeting. You do not legally have the authority to act unilaterally outside of a meeting, nor does the Board of Education have the ability to take action outside of the corners of this group. And so that's very important, and certainly something I'll circle back to in the scenarios. You have a chair. The role of your chairperson, obviously, is to make sure that the meetings function. But also, when you do have situations where you do need a voice, that would be funneled through your board chair. But even your board chair can't act unilaterally if the board hasn't empowered her to do so. So in other words, it would not be appropriate for Jen, and congratulations on the chairmanship, but it would not be appropriate for Jen to say, I'm going to make a statement based on a pending personnel matter or a pending student matter without the board giving her the express authority to do that. And the only way you can do that is at a meeting where you'd have to give her the authority to do that. So again, when we're thinking about participation in social media, that's something particularly sometimes newer board members who still maintain First Amendment rights when you go on social media, but you want to be cognizant that you cannot speak for the board on social media. So in other words, if Bill wanted to say something about whether or not we should put a turf field at the high school, and you, Bill, don't agree with that, you have every right to go on social media and say that. You maintain your First Amendment right to do that. But you would have to put a disclaimer in that communication to say, I'm not speaking as Bill Bodie as a Board of Education member. I'm speaking as a private citizen and a Tolland resident. Because otherwise, those comments are going to be imputed to you and the rest of the board, even if you didn't want it to be. So we have to be very thoughtful about that. And then certainly we don't want to reveal anything because there are sometimes confidential discussions that we will have, certainly through attorney-client communications or some other things that I will mention. And we have to be very thoughtful that we aren't disclosing any of that on social media or through any other forum. I also want, for those of you who have students in the school district, you certainly don't shed your right to be a parent, right? You certainly can advocate for your kids. So let's say your child has a 504 plan or an IEP, you absolutely still have the right to attend meetings. You have the right to call teachers, to call the superintendent of schools if need be, to say, I'm concerned about whether or not my child is progressing appropriately. You are a parent, you have the right to do that. Where it crosses the line and where we want to be thoughtful about is if I use my board status to my advantage. So you have a code of ethics, you have bylaws that talk about this. So for those of you who are not familiar with your bylaws, you may want to read through the 9,000 series. because that will walk you through what your responsibilities are as Board of Education members. I once had a situation where a high school principal had really not done right by a board member's child. He really hadn't. I won't get into the specifics, but she was not wrong to go to him and say, you've treated my child unfairly and you have shown biases towards my child. She had every right to do that. The problem was she got so angry that in that meeting, she said, and wait till the Board of Education hears about this. So he took that as a threat and he filed what's called an unfair labor charge against her because he has the right to be free from threats of that nature. Also, he doesn't work for that Board of Education member. He works for the superintendent of schools, right? That is your one employee. So you have to understand that there is a hierarchy and the only person you evaluate and the only performance that you are discussing is Dr. Willits, and that it is his job to oversee those administrative issues. So what should have happened there and what didn't, and then it took on a whole life of its own with the labor board, and it was pretty costly and embarrassing. But what should have happened there was she can certainly have that conversation and say, you did not do right by my child. She can certainly then go to Dr. Willett and say, I have serious concerns about this, and I want a 504 team or an IEP team convene. Absolutely. But then it should have been left at that. And we need to trust in our CEO that our CEO is going to address that issue with the administrator appropriately and not something that she's bringing to the Board of Education related to her own child. There have also been ethic claims in other school districts that I have worked with for towns that have codes of ethics, where board members have tried to persuade people to give better grades to their kids, things of that nature. Not saying you would ever do it, but I have lived through those ethics complaints. I have a pending ethics complaint right now where the family feels that the board chair was overly biased in a student disciplinary proceeding. I can't get into the specifics, but we just have to be very thoughtful that we're not using our board status to advantage ourselves or our family members.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, of course, Mackenzie.
So on the point about, and I don't have children in the school, so I don't know why I'm hung up on this, but not bringing your child's experience to the board. What if you think that's like indicative of like policies that need to be changed?
Yeah.
Or like, how do you?
So that's an excellent question. So you are an elected official. You're going to have people in the community who come to you and say, hey, Mackenzie, I had a situation with my child. I'm concerned about it. Or you have a student tonight who talked about her budgetary concerns, and she absolutely has a right to do that. And you want to communicate with people. That's absolutely appropriate. What you have to be cognizant of, though, is you don't have the legal authority or the jurisdiction over student matters. And so you absolutely have the right to say, I want to talk about this. And if there are policies that we need to look at, absolutely. And I will bring that to the attention of the superintendent, or if it's a broader operational issue, I will bring it to the full board. But again, you, Mackenzie, can't act unilaterally or promise anything to any community member. It isn't to suggest that you cannot have those relationships. And certainly people should feel that they can come and talk to you. But if it's, let's say, I don't like the grade that my child got, Mackenzie, and I need you to address this.
Yeah.
The party line has to be, I don't have any purview over students' grades. I would recommend that you refer that to the superintendent of schools. If you want, I can refer your email to the superintendent of schools. And then the superintendent, we have to trust that he will handle that appropriately. So if it's a larger, more systemic matter, then certainly. But again, that would be a discussion for the broader board, or for you as the board to say, hey, Dr. Willett, we have hundreds of families in town who are very concerned about certain systemic issues, right? Or whether or not there's enough funding for clubs. We as a board need to address that. And then you have the board chair who sets the agenda. And if at least 3 Board of Education members want that matter on the agenda, it gets on the agenda. So Jen wouldn't be able to block that. So that's not only in your bylaws, that's codified in statute. So I think there's just a difference between personal and systemic.
Right.
And absolutely systemic. That's why you're here. Yep, absolutely. That's a great question. So I just want to talk briefly about when I talked how you are the legislative function, but that sometimes you will operate in a quasi judicial function. So this is in section 3 of the outline. There are going to be times where you are asked to serve on a student expulsion committee or potentially a transportation or residency hearing committee. It doesn't happen very often. It certainly doesn't happen very often in Tolland. But when it does, those are highly confidential. Those are things that prior to the actual proceeding, you cannot have any information. And part of that is because up and until it comes to you, it is a matter that is highly confidential and you don't legally have any right to know that information unless you are sitting as judge and jury in that expulsion proceeding. So there might be situations where you hear something that, let's say there was an assault at a dance, but it doesn't actually come to you as an expulsion because either legally we didn't have sufficient evidence to bring forward the expulsion. 2, it might have been that that was more of a rumor than actual substantiation. Or 3, before a child can be expelled from school, there's something called a manifestation hearing, which means if I have a 504 plan or I get special education services, I cannot be brought forward to an expulsion if it's deemed a manifestation of my disability. So you might hear very significant things out there. A lot of it will be rumor. And you might call Dr. Willett and say, I heard about this assault at the dance, but why is this kid not being expelled? And let's say for whatever reason, it was deemed a manifestation of that child's disability. Dr. Walt can't tell you that because there are state and federal laws that govern student confidentiality. FERPA is the federal law that governs student confidentiality. And we have significant exposure as a district from a liability standpoint if we violate FERPA. And so Dr. Willett cannot share that information with you, even if you want to have that information. And you just have to trust in Dr. Willett and the administration. And if there is an issue like that, normally he is corresponding with legal counsel, and we are also advising him on what his next steps are. So it doesn't mean he's not doing his job, and it doesn't mean he's being difficult in not sharing that information. There are legitimate legal reasons as to why we can't share that information. Now, let's say that actually does come to an expulsion proceeding. We need 3 affirmative votes to expel a child. You will then get all the information that you need in that proceeding, but that is highly confidential. So if you then leave and talk to a friend with coffee, or you see friends on the soccer field or at other community engagements, and we reveal anything that happened, that could be very significant liability for the district. So you have to be very thoughtful about that because families would have a cause of action to sue us if we violated those confidentiality laws. So that would be the same thing for a transportation hearing or residency hearing. Let's say for transportation, people don't like their bus stop. They have the right to appeal that to the Board of Ed. If Dr. Willett says, we feel comfortable that we have the right bus routes and the right bus stops, but then you would sit as judge and jury, and ultimately you would have the right to make that final decision. Same thing with the residency claim. If Dr. Willett, we've had a few of these, believes that people are attending school in Tolland fraudulently and are not entitled to school accommodations in Tolland because they live in Vernon or West Hartford or Avon, he has a legal obligation to bring that forward, but those families have a right to contest that, and that would be done before the Board of Education. But prior to that, you could not have any of that knowledge. Yeah, Mackenzie.
Who was the decision maker in a manifestation hearing?
So that is the administrative team. So that's your special ed director, your teachers. So that's an excellent question. The Board of Ed does not have any purview over special education. And sometimes you're going to get a question in a student disciplinary proceeding where the family might beg you to say, please, can the PPT place my child here or at this school? And it's going to pull at it will pull at your heart. But you just know that legally under the law, the board doesn't have the right to place a student somewhere. That has to then be given back to the PPT, and they make those administrative decisions. And they do it with input from the parent and what they believe to be the best interest of the child. It's just not something that a Board of Education member would ever be a part of.
Okay, so if a parent appealed that decision, that still never comes to us.
Correct. So what they would do is they would appeal that. They could file what's called a due process
Right.
claim with the state. And then that's an excellent question, Mackenzie, because then you might say, well, I know this mother filed a due process complaint against the school district. And then if you call Dr. Willett to say, I want to know chapter and verse, he legally could give you chapter and verse unless and until you actually are in litigation.
Okay.
So that is an exception. So let's say a family files a lawsuit because they don't believe that you were properly educating their child with an IEP. If they threaten to sue you and they send you all an email that you're all copied on and say, we're threatening to sue the board, and you call Dr. Willett and wanted to know chapter and verse, he legally could not tell you because it's only a threat to sue. If they actually file a complaint with the State Department of Education, there is an exception where in executive session, we could meet and talk about that pending claim in litigation. Because it is a student matter, I still would be very thoughtful about what he's disclosing about the child and the family, but he could certainly tell you what the nature of the claim is, and you might be called upon, because some of those can be very costly, as to what you would agree to with respect to a monetary amount with respect to that litigation. So certainly, those are times we could be brought to that conversation.
Question?
Yeah, of course.
So if, let's say hypothetically, a parent has a concern with some disciplinary issue that's happened at a school, that they feel that their own child may be at additional risk, or they want to know, hey, I heard about this thing, and then apparently nothing was ever done about it, so on and so forth, right? What would be a process, or what leeway, I'm trying to think of what the right word would be, but what options would there be for some degree of fact finding, information gathering, checks and balances? You know, no matter how much I personally might trust Dr. Willett, if we as elected members of the board are being brought concerns by parents, I know there's frustration out there around these kinds of issues. And I don't think it's satisfying for somebody to just to hear, well, trust me, it's a liability issue. We can't do anything about it. So where's the give and take there?
So I guess what I would say, JP, right? I guess what I would say is you just don't have purview or jurisdiction over those matters. And as difficult as that is to hear as an elected official, you have to draw that strong party line. And you have to say, I can address systemic issues. So if you think that there's a systemic issue with vaping or a systemic issue with drugs in the school, that is something that you hold your CEO accountable over, and you can systemically address that. But if they say to you, I don't believe that my son should have been disciplined, that is not something you can get involved in because you don't have any jurisdiction or purview over that. You can say that's an administrative issue. People don't understand the difference between a Board of Education member and the administration. That is not for the Board of Education member to intervene. Systemically, absolutely. Personal issues, no. Also, if it did rise to the level where it was coming to an expulsion, if you are involved before then, you're going to have to recuse yourself from any type of hearing because you can't really sit impartially. Because you are going to have to be guided by your own moral compass when you come to these proceedings to say, can I sit here and be unbiased or neutral in my approach? So I know people don't like that answer, but we have to be really clear about what his role is and what your role is. So I would say, look, I can talk to you systemically about larger, broader issues. And certainly as a board member, if I think vaping is a significant issue, we need to address that. We need to look at our policies and we need to talk to our CEO about what he's doing about that. But if it's a specific student issue, we have to stay away from that and trust that our administration is handling it. And lots of times there will be significant legal work being done on it as well. And trust that you're getting the sound legal advice. Let's say it's a Title IX issue or something of that nature. Yeah, go ahead, Dana.
Tack on this question. So if a parent reached out to us, would it be in our purview to communicate to Dr. Willett and say, a parent has communicated to us this concern, whether it be behavioral or unfair or what have you, can you please look into it and transfer that information to Dr. Willett? And then have him do whatever. I mean, 'cause they're
Absolutely.
communicating to us,
Absolutely.
right? So the way that I've communicated in my years doing this is I've communicated to Dr. Willett and said, "Hey, Dr. Willett, can you talk to, you know, whatever, Mr. Swanson or Mr. Deneen or Ms. Hickey and said that this is an issue." And I will say, Dr. Willett hasn't gotten back to me with details because that's none of my, like I said, my purview. But he has communicated some steps that he's taken, like I've worked with this team or, you know, things like that, and it's being addressed. Is that okay? Or he'll say, "I've taken care of it."
I think if he says, I've taken steps as I deemed appropriate, I have no problem.
Correct.
And that's what I was saying to Mackenzie's question, that absolutely, you're an elected official. These people are reaching out to you for a
Right.
reason. They need support. It's just that you can't individually offer that support.
Correct.
So it has to be that I hear you. This is very concerning. This is an issue for the administration, and I'm forwarding your personal concern to the administration versus the systemic broader issues that absolutely Board of Education members should be involved in and should be addressing, probably starting through the policy committee.
The challenge I'm gonna be sort of chewing on with that is that when someone does come to me, it's because they are already not satisfied with what they've gotten from the administration, right?
Right.
They already don't have trust that it's being properly handled by the administration. So they're trying to find somebody to escalate it to, essentially.
Right, but where would you, so you can't, as an individual, escalate something, right? Remember, you have to act as a board. So you just don't have the power or the authority to do that. And you just have to explain to them that this is something that has to be processed through the administration. Now, if they don't like what the administration has done and it isn't something that the board can attack from a systemic standpoint, they have legal recourse. And trust me, people invoke their legal recourse, whether there's any merit to it or not. They can file a due process complaint if they believe it's an educational issue. They can file a lawsuit. They can file a Title IX complaint, non-discrimination complaints. So that is all happening. There are other avenues for them. It's just that I wouldn't advise a Board of Education member to encourage a parent to file a lawsuit against the district. Instead, I would refer them to the superintendent, who has a legal obligation to say, if you don't like the way this was handled, you have every right to appeal that. But the appeals don't go to you. The appeals go to outside agencies. And so just to make you feel better, if you forward a communication like that to Dr. Willett, he has a legal obligation to tell those parents where they can take their next step. It just isn't in this form. Any other questions about that? Because I know that's a tough one, because I get it. I know why you're here. You all care about your community members and your students. Just know, though, that these parents have alternative recourses. The other thing I just wanted to mention, and then I'm just going to quickly talk about FOIA, and then I'll just do a few scenarios. But Jen, you just let me know how you are on time. So another thing where you may have to sit as judge and jury, and so it's important that you don't get overly embedded in personnel matters. Because all of your employees, with the exception of a few central office people like Dr. Willett, are part of a collective bargaining union, which means that the terms and conditions of their employment are all governed by a union contract. They all have what's called a grievance procedure in their contract. So let's say Dr. Willett disciplines a teacher, suspends her for a day because she said something inappropriate in a classroom that wasn't related to the curriculum. Let's say that teacher does not agree with that. She would have the right to appeal that to you, the Board of Ed, and you ultimately could either agree with Dr. Willett or you could not agree with Dr. Willett. If you are getting involved before it comes to you, that can be highly problematic. It can also be highly prejudicial to the teacher, particularly if you have made it clear that you already agree with Dr. Willett, or there's been any evidence that you have been talking to the community members about what's going on, because they have the right to a fair and impartial process before the board. So we want to be really, really thoughtful about that we don't get involved in personnel matters up until we're called upon to do that. Legally, only the Board of Education can terminate a certified staff member. That is all driven by statute. So there's an entire process before would ever come to you and you would make the final decision as to whether or not to terminate a teacher. If you asked Dr. Willett for information before we got there, that would be highly problematic. There is Connecticut case law on this because it's highly prejudicial to that employee because you have to sit as an impartial judge and jury once the process plays itself out. So we've gotten questions where you've said, I want to know about what's going on. Let's say a teacher has been put out on leave pending a DCF referral matter. And you say to Dr. Willett, this is unacceptable. I don't know anything except what you're telling the rest of the community. He legally can't tell you. And one, it's because of the termination hearing where you ultimately, we need to keep you impartial. But two, anything related to a DCF matter is strictly confidential and we cannot disclose that information. So even if we got to a point where we're bringing the termination to you, I still couldn't even share the DCF report with you because it is confidential wherever located. So even in the midst of a hearing, I could share with you things that were found in the report. I couldn't actually physically give you the report. That would be illegal. So just again, there are actual legitimate reasons why we say these things. We're not just kind of pulling it out of thin air. So just be thoughtful that if it pertains to an individual student or individual teacher, you have to kind of stay out of it and then trust that Dr. Willett is going to give you the information when it's an appropriate time to do so. So going back to my DCF example, most of those cases probably won't come to you. And you have to trust that Dr. Willett has the ability to negotiate an agreement with the teachers union on that. Now, how many of you think that Dr. Willett has the legal authority to negotiate a separation agreement with the teacher without board input or approval?
That's a trick question.
He does. He does have the legal authority to do it. Now,
Don't have to show any sort of thing. I was looking to cue you off.
so what would happen there is he has the right as your CEO to say cost benefit analysis, because trust me, a teacher termination hearing could cost you $100,000 for a variety of reasons. It would be easier to get a release agreement so that they can't sue you. And let's say we pay them for 4 months. After we have that agreement, then in an executive session, Dr. Willett can share with you exactly what led to the resignation and what the issues were. And I've definitely had very serious situations with DCF where you'll have a community outrage that they don't have any information. But you just have to trust that you have to balance the rights of the students who are entitled to confidentiality, but also the right of the employee, because I have seen DCF complaints where they were either overturned on appeal or they were deemed to have students who recanted things that they have said and truly recanted and had made things up. And so you have to be very thoughtful about the employee too, even in something that might seem like the most significant and appalling circumstances. So there is a balance there.
Is Dr. Willett mandated or structured to provide that information if he to let the board know that he has gotten into an agreement to let somebody go, or is it just upon if we find something out, hey, we want to have an executive session, then we would go from there, or is he mandated to provide that to us?
So I wouldn't
We
say,
can say, oh, somebody says,
Oh.
May, oh, yeah, they got 4 months pay and they just never came back. We
Yeah.
don't know whether they left voluntarily
No.
or because of some
so
sort of.
that's a great
situation.
question. Mandated, I would say no. There's no legal mandate, but I would say that best practice would be when we have an event like that then after the fact, Dr. Willett does inform the Board of Education. And so whether you want to mandate that, you, the board, can mandate that, but it's not a legal mandate. But I would say, to your point, Brian, certainly, particularly in the example that I gave, where maybe the community has a lot of questions, we can't share that information with the community because, again, a lot of that's highly confidential. But certainly as the Board of Education members, you would have the right to know specifically how your CEO handled the matter. Because again, that's your involvement. Your involvement is not to determine whether or not we made the right decision and how we investigated it, or whether or not we share DCF records. That's not your call. Your call is, did my CEO do the right thing? Did he handle it appropriately? And do I concur with his judgment on the matter? And then if I don't, when it comes to evaluation time, I have the right to evaluate Dr. Willett, and I have the right to provide that input and that feedback, right? So that's really would be the purpose of it, for you certainly to understand the information, but also then to have a better understanding as to what your CEO is doing behind the scenes. So I think that that's a really good point. And again, not a mandate, but certainly nothing that I would certainly recommend that we do that, particularly in the situations that really do escalate.
Thank you.
So then just briefly, and I'll just do a few scenarios. I just want to talk to a little bit about FOI. And so what I've attached here for you on page 3 and 4, I would encourage you all to read it, because it is communications on how you communicate as a board, right? So particularly for our new Board of Education members, if there's anything you take away from tonight, 1, do not use your personal email for board business. Don't do it. Don't do it. Use your board email. And the reason why I say this is we all know that there's a lot of people are very emboldened these days. And I am at the Freedom of Information Commission, which is the agency that oversees public documents and public meetings, once a week. And that is not an exaggeration. And 10 years ago, I was there 5 times a year. I live there now because everyone is after elected officials, even at the most local level. In fact, more at the local level than they are at the higher level. And they're going to say, just for sport, I want to see every email between Mackenzie and Dana for the last 2 years, just cause. Maybe they think they'll find a smoking gun or a gotcha, but it also, for some of these people, it really has just become sport, where they think they're going to find something that doesn't exist. So what happens is legally, when I get that request, or Dr. Willett gets that request, he has a legal obligation to tell that person, thank you, I will look into this matter and I'll get you the documents that are responsive. Let's say you guys have emailed 3,000 times in the last 2 years. The IT will have an obligation to extract all those communications. Then we have to look at it to determine what is or is not exempt from disclosure. Because if, let's say, my name is on it, it would be exempt from disclosure because it'd be an attorney-client communication. So if I'm on the email with Jenna McKenzie, we don't have to disclose that. We still have to review those documents to make sure we don't inadvertently hand over an attorney-client communication. We might also have communications in there, though, that are very unfortunate. And I tell people all the time, don't put anything in writing that you wouldn't want anyone to see. Stand behind what you are putting in writing, because everything that you put in writing is subject to public disclosure, all of it. Unless it is, again, you have a student in the district and it is about your child, it will be subject to disclosure. I've had many situations where I've explained this to teachers, I've explained this to administrators. I had a situation where there was a due process proceeding. We felt very, very strong about our case. The parents were asking for a placement that would cost $500,000. And we knew we had done so well for this child and that we could educate the child in school. They asked for all the correspondence between 2 teachers relating to this child and to this family. We had to extract all of the information, 10,000 emails. I have to review all the emails. Then I legally had to disclose the emails where the teachers are going back and forth, bashing the family, bashing the child who has disabilities. And all of a sudden, my case went from being very strong to, we have to settle this case.
What does it?
Yeah,
Attorney Ritter is sharing her general experience.
this is not here. This is not here.
Well, the redactions and all that cost.
Oh, right. But what I'm saying is because of what was put in writing, I had to settle a case for a very significant amount of money. And that would pertain to Board of Education members too. So you just have to be really, really thoughtful about that. The other thing I would say is I say use your board email because when I have to ask you, and it will happen, I need you to be able to say to me, I don't use my personal email for board business, because if you do, you're gonna have a separate legal obligation to search all your personal emails. So you can't say, oh, well, it's on my Gmail account, so I don't have to disclose it. Wrong. If it relates to a board matter, you're gonna have a legal obligation to search all your Gmail and hand over to me what is within the scope of that request. Same thing with your phone. If I'm texting Jen about whether or not we should vote for that turf field, I'm going to have to hand that over. I can't say it's on my private cell phone. I don't have to disclose it.
Okay, so it applies to tech purposes.
It does. And the commission has the authority, if they don't think you're being truthful, to subpoena your phone or your computer records. So I'm saying there's a broad authority that they have, and I am at the commission a lot now because we just get these very random broad requests. What you also can't do is if Mackenzie started texting, you have 9 members. So a quorum for you is 5. If Mackenzie, Brian, Bill, Jen, and Dana are all texting about whether or not they should vote for the turf field, what's wrong with that? It's a meeting. Because you're having an illegal meeting. You are discussing an issue within your purview outside of the context of a meeting because there's a quorum and you haven't posted for that meeting. So not only are those subject to disclosure, so now I've had to disclose these. Now I've given the people who are, looking to have support with this, the ability to file a FOIA complaint for an illegal meeting. So we want to be really thoughtful about that too. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't communicate. Jen can't text Dana, say, how was your day today? That's certainly not something that would be subject to disclosure because it's not board business. But you just have to be very thoughtful that if I wouldn't want someone to see it, if I can't stand behind it, don't put it in writing. And also that if there's a quorum of you or if there's a subcommittee of you texting about the same thing, that also could be deemed an illegal meeting because we have to post all subcommittee meetings, not just full Board of Education. Yeah.
Is the exception to that a caucus?
Yes. So, excellent point. Caucus would be, and I don't know who's what party. But let's say all the Republicans here said right now, after this meeting, we're going to go to, down the hall and we're going to have a discussion. Problem with that? No problem with that whatsoever. You have every right to do that. If the Republican said, I want to invite the Republican town chair to join us, is that a problem?
Yeah.
Yes. Why? Because it only pertains to the entity. So if you invited anyone outside of the entity, it waives the caucus. So if you invited me, I've been invited to say, Jessica, will you come talk to the caucus about this issue that we're having with the other side? And I'm saying legally, I can't do that because it wouldn't be a caucus. You can't invite Dr. Willett to your caucus. Now, let's say Democrats have a caucus, they share all these materials, and then someone says, I want to FOI the materials that were shared in the caucus. Are they exempt from disclosure because they were shared within the caucus?
Yes.
They're not.
No.
Yeah.
So again, caucus, why give paper? Just have the conversation, right? So, and I'm not trying to be cute when I say that. I just mean we don't need to create records unnecessarily. We just want to be thoughtful about it. You're all, consummate professionals and in it for the right reasons. But no matter how many times I tell people this, I can't tell you how many terrible things I see in writing that I still have to handle. And then I have to have the conversation about, I'm really sorry, but I ethically have to do this. So that's another reason why I also make sure you just use Tolland email, because it's much easier for IT, the administration and everyone else. And then we can say through an affidavit, we've given you everything. No one here uses their personal cell phone or their personal email.
What about like a group text, like coordinating meetings or?
I'm sorry, what?
Like, what about like a group text, like coordinating meetings or?
So that's an excellent question, Mackenzie. So let's say if Jen emailed all of you just to say, hey, can you meet Tuesday at 7:30? That's not going to be a problem because you're not discussing an issue that you have purview or jurisdiction over. You're just scheduling something. Jen and Dr. Willett can also send you unilateral communications to say, here are all the board materials that you need for the upcoming meeting. Totally fine. Even if you respond and said, thank you, that's fine, because that is not, you're not acting on a matter. It's when you're talking about something that you potentially have jurisdiction over and could be taking action on. That's the distinction. But that's a great question.
I offer.
Yeah.
Your emails, that also stands for drafts and anything deleted. Drafts also stay in the system, and anything that is deleted also stays in the system. So it's not like something deleted would not be disclosable. It would actually come up when we did the search and we would disclose it. So just keeping those things in mind.
Just gonna say one more thing. So that the other thing too, like if Jen or Bill or anybody was to send an email to us and then we hit reply all, now that's considered that we're having a meeting, if you will, right? And so
Unless it's just about something like
let's just
scheduling.
something like
Yeah.
that. So that's why, like, a lot of times people on their subject line will, or on the signature will have do not reply all. So, and if there's something we have to respond to, it would be in our best interest to respond to the sender only. And then have that question to clarify or whatever it is.
Right. And
But
typically,
that was something that was new to me. when I first
Absolutely,
started, so I wanted to
right.
make sure, because I'm like, what's this flag? Why can't I just keep everybody in the loop of what I was asking?
no, it's an excellent point. And typically what would happen is Dr. Willett or Jen would be sending information, so all the Board of Education members have the same information. And then you will get that tagline, do not reply all. And it's just because it's meant to be kind of information dump for you, but not meant to have correspondence back.
And occasionally you'll see that from me, but it's just a friendly reminder. It's not a.
It's not a
It's
monster.
a friendly reminder and all capitals
Yeah,
and
right.
exclamation.
So do you want me to just go through a few of the scenarios in here? Okay, so why don't we start with number one? So it's on page 2. So as a citizen volunteer, a board member wants to decide when and how to fulfill his board responsibilities. The district has offered to provide the board member an email account on the district server, i.e. last name, first initial at, let's say, region12.org. The board member likes his independence and he decides to use his personal email to conduct board business. That way he can decide how long to retain emails and he can clean out his inbox and send items regularly as he does at work. So question, is that legal?
Yeah.
I believe.
Yeah.
We can do it.
He can do it.
That's us, right?
It's a can of worms, that's all.
Right.
Yeah.
So here's why it's a little tricky. Because it is board business, you do likely have a policy on transitory emails versus substantive emails and when they can be deleted. So for this board member to go rogue and do it on his own rather than in accordance with the board policy, it could potentially be an issue if we get a request and it looks like he's deleting things as a result of that request. So one, I would say, please use your district email, right? Don't use your personal email. And just remember that you have to adhere to all the board policies and you likely have a policy on email retention. Because most boards do, and you have to comply with that. So if I had to go to the commission and say he didn't comply with his own board policy, or potentially there's a litigation and it looks like we're spoiling evidence, that could be problematic. But what could have avoided all of that? Right, just use the server and then Dr. Willett and his team, they already have that retention system built in. So friendly reminder.
I do have a question on that.
Yeah.
Because I've had people email me and inadvertently use my personal email
Yeah.
accidentally. Like you go and type in Jen Gallichan and her personal email comes up first or something. I've in turn responded from my board email to that person or whatever, like if it was communication, like when they do, you know how sometimes they do one person by one person instead of do the all board?
Mhm.
Well, they put my Gmail in there. So it's come into my regular email. So I've responded to them from my board email.
That's perfect.
So, but because they sent it to my email with that, you know what I mean? That doesn't mean that my email is gonna be,
No.
Okay.
Right.
it's if I'm responding through that.
What you may want to do though in that situation is reply to the email with your original Gmail still on it, that
Mhm.
address, and add your board address and say, going forward, please just contact me at this address. And then we have a record of you responding and it's all encompassed within that email chain.
Okay. I think more, of it's been just a typo on that.
Yeah.
When it comes
Right.
up, because when you have certain emails, when you go through whatever.
I'm not so worried about that. I'm worried about the due process issues that I'm talking about.
Understood.
I'm worried about when people are emailing about confidential board matters or attorney-client privilege communications, or when you're emailing about, employees. That's what I'm worried about. I'm not so worried about someone got it wrong in terms of my email. Yeah.
So if a parent reaches out to us by text or email or whatever in writing, is that FOIA-able also?
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, I would make the argument, let's say JP, it has to be about board business. But let's say it's on your Tolland email and as part of that extraction, there's 10,000 emails and I review it and I see that a parent reached out to you to say, my child's been bullied, I'm very concerned. I will take the position that part of the email, I'm not going to disclose and I'm going to redact it. And I would make the commission tell me I had to hand that over because I would very sternly protect that family from that. But it doesn't mean that the commission wouldn't say, no, you have to hand it over. And so, but I would always, because most parents don't know that by doing that, it becomes public. It is different if they email the entire board, because then I'm thinking they're not really meaning for this to be private. But if they're just emailing you, I would be very protective of that parent and of your relationship with that parent. But I can't promise that if the commission did some kind of inspection, that they wouldn't tell me I had to hand it over, but it wouldn't be without a fight.
Gotcha. So then if someone's texted me, at a personal phone number, some of their phone number.
Yeah.
How do I go about finding out what our record retention requirements are?
So that's your own personal cell phone. So I would say you have email record retention guidelines, not text phone.
Okay.
Not text
I was speaking in
guidelines.
terms of like if there's any board policy or something that I.
Not on your phone that I'm aware of, but that's why I'm just saying, if you use a Tolland email, you'll never not be in compliance with the record retention. Yeah.
I just wanted to mention the flip side of that too. Maybe you'll get to it, but we also should be careful about not using our board email for personal business. You know, especially as a parent, there have been times like I'll have my personal email open, my board email open, and you're handling board emails. And you just go to type in an email to teacher because their address will come up because it's in our system and you catch yourself. Right.
That's a great point, and it goes back to my ethics issue that I was talking about earlier. Because again, even though we know Walt is your only employee, most employees think that they work for you. They just do. They don't understand the legal, not that they don't understand it, they just don't know, right? Why would they? So if you send something to your son's 11th grade teacher from your Tolland board email, that can be very intimidating, right? And so even if you don't mean it to be, you have to be very thoughtful about that. So it's an excellent point. All right, so I'm going to go to scenario 3 on page 6. I'm just going to highlight some that I think are important. The policy committee has been updating certain policies and deleting others. The policy on public complaints has received a lot of public attention because some members of the public are concerned that the board may eliminate the policy and thus deprive them of their forum for complaining to the board. Given the public attention, some board members who are not on the policy committee want to attend the meeting of the policy committee at which the public complaint policy will be discussed. So let me ask you this, how many of you are on the policy committee or have we not set the committees yet?
Yeah, but you watch that.
Okay, just 2?
3 of us.
3, okay, JP's on it. All right, so you guys are on the policy committee, right? So you're running the meeting. Who's the chair of the committee? All right, so Jaden, you're running the meeting. So is it a problem if now a quorum, it's just 3 of you, of the full board attends your meeting? Okay. Is it a problem, let's say you're sitting here, if they sit with you up here?
Yes,
Why?
it would classify as quorum for an illegal, well, it would be an illegal meeting.
Well, what it would be is now you're talking about, you've taken a policy committee and now you've made it a full board meeting, confusing people,
Participation.
and you haven't posted it
Right.
as a regular meeting, right? And so you've in essence converted it into an illegal meeting because it wasn't posted.
Gotcha.
So really, the legal significance is how the furniture is set up and where I sit. So let's say then the three of you were there, Bill, Jen, Dana, Brian all come, and they sit in the back. Is that okay?
Yep.
Now, what if they start bantering with you though and demanding that you do certain things? What do we do there?
Back and forth, we have to respectfully ask them to. Yeah.
Right.
They bring okay demanding.
They're not part of the committee, so
Correct.
they're not able to affect the business
Right.
of the committee.
So really, they're here as who?
Observer.
A member, just like anyone else can come into your meeting. They're a member, just like any other citizen. So then,
Zoom,
what?
what about Zoom?
Same. So they can attend by Zoom, but they're still attending as like a citizen. They're not attending as a member of that policy subcommittee. So then the question is the full board bound by the recommendation of a policy committee concerning the elimination or amendment of a public complaint policy? So let's say Jaden, McKenzie, and JP decide we need to make drastic revisions to this public complaint policy. Then you present it to the full board.
Gotta be voted on.
Yes, board vote.
Right. And then your policy probably requires at least 2 readings before you could even change or revise a bylaw or policy that you already have. And so again, policy committee has to be cognizant that they have to follow certain protocols and procedures before they change, adopt, or amend policy. And then certainly at a board meeting, you all can then say, you know, Brian or Bill can support the measures or not. And then you certainly also have the authority to send it back to the policy committee with the revisions that the full board deemed appropriate.
So we can go to each other's meetings, but we can't participate.
Right, but then you're not bound to accept it. So then you'd have to present it to the full board and the full board can say, you know what, guys, I don't like your revisions. Please revise, you know, paragraphs A through G, and then they can send it back to you. So there's kind of that back and forth and that checks and balance system.
Can I clarify?
Yeah, of course.
So I think there's some confusion. So in any committee, the members of the committee are the only ones that are allowed to participate in that meeting and the discussion. There can be board members or any public watching the meeting as spectators. The only time those people could speak is if there is public participation in the agenda of that meeting from the chair.
Correct. Now, typically at subcommittee meetings, you never have public comment.
But sometimes we
But if
have,
sometimes you do,
Yeah.
absolutely. And then you certainly, if Brian is at that meeting and not part of the policy subcommittee, he has every right to speak at the podium as anyone else would. You at this meeting, tonight's meeting, if Dana said, I want to speak as a member or citizen of Tolland, she would have every right to sign up for her 2 minutes. And in fact, I've had board members do that who are saying, I can't say it on behalf of the board, but I'm going to say it as an individual and I'm going to sign up because I feel very strongly about this point. But I would just recommend that if you're going to do that, the disclaimer is, yes, I'm Jen Galachant, I'm on the board, but I'm speaking as Jen Galachant, resident of Tolland and as a concerned citizen.
and then as chair though, I am considered a member of every committee. And
You're at
I
the
can
video.
participate in the discussions of any
Absolutely.
committee meeting that I attend.
Yes. And you being there, if there's only 4 of you then, doesn't make it a quorum because you'd be the 4th.
Now, am I able to vote or just participate?
So I'd have to look at your bylaws. There is a misconception that chairs can only break a tie. That's not true. You can vote on anything. In terms of your policy meetings, normally I don't recommend that at a policy meeting you vote. It's more a recommendation to send back because nothing that you do is binding at the policy level. So the word vote is not the correct word. You can be part of the consensus to bring it forward, right? But you don't truly vote on something because it's not binding. It's more advisory in nature.
What if there's a committee that has 4 people?
That, I was wondering that too. Does that mean?
We have 1, and we had 2 last term as well.
Okay. Do you go to that?
Yeah. I probably haven't yet.
I might,
But I can to break it to help with consensus.
1 and 2 years.
I don't think we've run into that problem.
yeah.
before.
I might recommend, I do worry, the only reason why I worry is because if you have someone who's at the meeting and says, wait a second, now there's 5 people, it could lead to the appearance of an illegal meeting. So I recommend if you are gonna go and there's 4, you sit back here. I would just be concerned that someone's gonna make a claim and there might be validity to it. So typically I would say 3 people, and if you're going to serve the ex officio capacity, it would just be, you're the 4th, not the 5th. Got it. But you can always, if Jaden's absent that day, you can fill in for Jaden. I just would be thoughtful about that.
Thank you.
So question, so related to that topic, so if there's 4 people on, let's use policy as example, just because, bam, I don't know. If, myself, Mackenzie, Brian and Bill are all on policy committee and Bill's absent this week, can Jen then
Yes.
attend as a voting, or not voting member, but as a
Absolutely.
consensus added?
Yes, yes, she can, because she's ex officio, she's part of all of the committees, and now you're not having the quorum.
Right.
Now, is one of the 4 negotiations though?
No.
Okay, because then that doesn't matter, right? Because negotiations don't have to be posted because they are by definition not a meeting under the law. So that is an exception. And then discipline proceedings, you don't have to worry about because that is posted as a meeting of the board. So if that's one of the standing committees, I won't worry about that either.
Those 2 examples are not public.
Yeah.
Right, that's what I'm saying. That's why I'm not worried about it, right?
No.
So if, let's say the policy meeting, the policy subcommittee has a meeting and it hashes out a few things and comes up with a couple possible recommendations or suggestions, right? Any output of that then only comes back to the full board as like an agenda item for an official meeting?
Yep.
Or is there some other mechanism for, hey, this was, we had this issue come up and we were, hey, Jen, we were talking about this and we were thinking about this or that. What do you think? I mean, it sounds like if you keep it below a quorum, we could have that kind of a conversation with Jen as chair anyway, right?
Oh, absolutely.
But if we were to we couldn't necessarily bring in anybody else without risking violating that issue of.
Correct.
Okay.
But just be thoughtful though, JP, that if you start texting Jen, Jaden, and Mackenzie about the policy subcommittee revisions, because you're all in the policy subcommittee, that's an illegal meeting because it wasn't posted.
Right.
So
No, that's
I'm just
interesting.
not about that.
No.
What? No, because you're a subcommittee. So subcommittees have to be, doesn't matter about the quorum. A subcommittee is viewed as basically, you still have to post for all subcommittee meetings. So if Jaden, Mackenzie, and JP who are on the policy committee, if you start going back and forth, let's say in the school climate policy and saying, here's how I want to revise it, that's going to be deemed an illegal meeting. Because you're not at a posted meeting and you're talking about policy
So we
revisions.
can't email about it, we can't text about it.
You can unilaterally email about it and say, here are my thoughts on this. But if you go back and forth, that could be construed as an illegal meeting.
Because it's supposed to be.
That's why it has to be done in the public arena. And that's why you're always doing that conversation in the meeting. That has to be done at the meeting. It doesn't mean though JP can't call Jen afterwards, say, hey, Jen, let's talk this through. Or Mackenzie can't call Jaden and say, let's talk this through. But if the 4 of you got on like total phone, that's a problem.
Can I say? So I don't know if I'm answering anybody's questions or gonna confuse people more, so I apologize. But what I will say, like, for instance, we just did policy last term, we just did the calendar. So we had a reading in policy. I'm gonna be cognizant of not using the word vote. And we would go through the process. We'd have the conversation, are we ready to send this to the full board for review? And then, now I'm gonna use the word consensus at FFC, but we have consensus, and then I went, Jaden said yes, and Dan said yes, I said yes, and then we moved it to the board. We had 1 reading and then the board had 2 readings. So, but also our policy notes by our wonderful secretary, our wonderful dictator. What dictator? You know what I mean? It's not a time. I bet that's around. Lisa. Strike it all, Lisa, strike it all. Please reject that. She takes those notes and those notes are in on our dashboard.
Yes, yep.
They also, when Jen has our meeting, leads our meetings, she asks us for our chair reports. At that point in time, Jaden as policy chair can say, we discussed this, and this. And myself, whenever I'm on the board, this, and this, Joelle, just this,
Mhm.
fine. So that's our opportunity to communicate what we talked about in our respective meetings, in our committee meetings, to bring them.
I view that as a
Right.
unilateral communication. You are memorializing your recollection of that meeting and what you discussed, but you're not asking for feedback or input
Correct.
back from anybody. So that is very different from having a back and forth and an exchange.
Right.
You're not sending that to solicit an exchange. You're sending that as a record of your recollection of the events.
Right.
So that's perfectly fine.
So I think I may know the answer to this one
Sure.
already, but let me ask it anyways to check myself here. So I don't actually know everything already myself, especially as a new person. And there might be a situation where we have a conversation on policy and I might be inclined, if left to my own devices, to reach out to somebody else and say, hey, Bill, what do you think? Right? Hey, Elaine, what do you think? It sounds like maybe that wouldn't be such a good idea. That would be the kind of thing, like, is that okay to ask
Excellent
one?
question.
I mean,
So here's the thing with that.
and obviously I can always ask Jen. We've established
Of
that.
course. So let's say Jen called you all to say, are you gonna vote for me for chair? Do I have your support? Jen could call Dana. Dana could say, you have my support. She could call you and you could say, yep, you have my support. Where it becomes a problem is if Jen calls Bill and says, hey, Bill, I called Dana and JP. I have their support. Do I have your support? Because that in essence is an illegal meeting because now other people know how the other people are voting and Jen is trying to collect votes without just saying, will you support me? So it's one thing to have a communication. It's another thing to say, I'm letting you know this because I want you to know these are how the other three people feel. How do you feel? And then she continues in a game of telephone. And now she's been able to secure votes without being in a meeting.
But you,
So there's a little nuanced distinction there.
So like in the context of a policy thing,
Yeah,
right? Would I be okay saying, if I'm not sharing what we already talked about necessarily or trying to, I understand what you're saying in terms
Yeah.
of, there are ways you can easily make it a back channel meeting
Yes,
if you want to, right? But if I were to say, hey, we had an interesting thing come up and, Bill, what do you think about blah?
perfectly fine.
And then I could do that with a couple other people as information gathering.
Yep.
Because I'm not
decision making.
doing,
Meetings are recorded, so
Yeah.
it's like, everyone's gonna know what, if they wanted to view and listen to the meeting that you just had in policy, nothing you say to Bill or me or whomever is not public information already.
well, that's why I'm just trying to, in terms of my
With your
thought,
caucus,
what's that?
you can share that information with your caucus.
Yeah, I'm just thinking more in the
Whatever.
context of something less formal, like if I'm trying to make a decision about something and I'm trying to gather information,
Mhm.
my impulse is to reach out to other people and have
Yep.
conversations sometimes, right? And I just want to make sure I'm not overstepping if I'm doing that.
Yeah, so I think the clarification is, I think that discussions are okay, as to maybe saying, hey, Bill, I see this, professional development on the calendar. Do you know what that is? Is a okay question to ask Bill. I think when it comes to decision making, like Jess used in the example, like if it's something that we're going to vote on in the boardroom and you're already talking about what votes will be or trying to push someone.
Trying to manifest, you're trying to secure the votes.
It's not about the, needing, someone's opinion or guidance or experience with dealing with it before. It's about the decision making.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's a perfect
That
way
the
to look at it.
decision making always has to be done in a public forum.
Right,
Gotcha. So is that sort of a good high level rule of thumb that information gathering
absolutely.
and solicitation of feedback kind of stuff is okay, but the decision making is where we're really trying to make sure we.
Just be thoughtful, JP, that you're not having a subcommittee or a quorum on the call altogether, on the
Gotcha.
email
Yeah.
altogether.
No, that makes
Yeah, but if you wanted to have separate conversations, absolutely.
So in this scenario, We just had a policy meeting. JP could call me and say, okay, Jaden, we talked about this. What do you think about if, you know, blah, 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 blah. Is that allowed versus he can't call Mackenzie and me now and say, okay, we just met.
That's the committee meeting.
Because that's
Right,
now.
he can't call you on, like, he can't photo phone you together,
Correct.
right? But he can call you separately and say, hey, Mackenzie, let's just kind of flesh this out a little bit more, right? Absolutely. So,
Okay.
JP only talked to one person. Yeah, that's what we decided.
One person, it's all public information.
Okay, Jess, how about one more?
Yeah, one more. Okay, what do you want to do now?
So what do you? I think this board could go all night, but they're,
Right,
they're gonna
let's
be
do-
upset once we're on, the calendar after goals.
Yeah, so I don't have one in here, but we can talk. Well, maybe I do have one in here.
Number two?
Is number 2 social media?
Yeah, so about posting on Facebook about the budget.
All right, let's do it. Okay, so Brian and Mackenzie. All right. So there- on page 4.
I will live this last year, this one.
Okay, so
this time
3 members of the Board of Ed post a letter on Facebook addressed to the Nutmeg Public Schools community. In the post, the board members talk about the upcoming budget and they urge people to vote in support of the budget. The 3 board members identify themselves as members of the Nutmeg Board of Ed. Other board members see the post and are mad that the 3 board members did not let them know about the post in advance. So, did the 3 board members do anything wrong? Should the 3 board members have conferred with the other board members before joining in the post? And when can the board chair post such a letter on behalf of the board? All right, so let me just say, for social media purposes, do you guys have a social media policy for board members? Because we do have one if you wanted to look at it.
I think we've treaded lightly. We've
We've
looked at it in the past as it's gone through, but
Yeah.
I'd be happy for the board to review it again.
I'm happy to send it to you and the policy subcommittee can certainly take a look at it. Like I said, you do not shed your right to participate in social media. You want to be on Twitter, you want to be on Instagram, you do what you need to do. You're an elected official and a lot of time in order to, gain grassroots supports level, we do it on social media. That is perfectly appropriate. You cannot, though, go on social media and take action on behalf of the rest of the board or other board members. And so what's problematic here is when the 3 members go and talk about the upcoming budget and they vote people to support the budget, they say they're members of the Nutmeg Board of Education. There's only 3 of them. So you're now saying that I'm speaking on behalf of the full board, but you're not. And that's why the other board members are upset. If 3 of you want to post something on social media in support of the budget, fine, go for it. Obviously be diplomatic in what you write. We don't want anything inflammatory or that is considered hateful towards our colleagues. But I would say, so let's say it's JP, Dana, and Jen who do that. We are writing as 3 Board of Education members in unison on this issue, but we are not writing as, we're not doing this on behalf of the full board.
Okay.
So I want to make that disclaimer.
So we have to represent ourselves
Yeah.
Put the disclaimer.
and
Yeah.
not,
You need the
and
disclaimer.
not, yeah, you can't purport that you're representing the whole board.
Exactly. So let's say these 3 members are their own caucus. It's perfectly appropriate for the Republican or the Democratic caucus to issue a statement
Yeah,
without talking to the other caucus. Now, lines of communication, we hope are collaborative. And so if the Republican caucus were going to do that and the chair is a Democrat, I would just have the caucus maybe reach out to the Democratic chair or vice versa. We would just want some level of collegiality there. But you can say, we are the Republican caucus or we are the Democratic caucus of the Board of Ed. You're not speaking on behalf of the full board. Have at it. The problem is when the communication appears to be from the full board and it isn't.
okay.
Now, what about Jen? We talked about this earlier, being able to send a communication on behalf of the board. Can she just unilaterally do that? Right. And the only way to do that is we would have to vote at a meeting to authorize her to make a statement. Yeah.
So question, so are you saying that they're authorized to encourage people to vote or encourage people to vote a certain way?
So you absolutely have the right to say,
Both?
yeah, you have the right to do it. It's just that you can't make it seem like you were speaking
Yeah,
on behalf of the whole
sentiment.
board, but you absolutely have the right to do that.
So every time we post on like social media,
Yeah.
like comment on social media. Say it's like a schools related issue,
Yeah,
we would have to disclose. I'm a member of the Board of Education, but I am writing this representing my own personal thoughts.
so what I would say, it's not a legal requirement.
Okay.
But to me, that is best practice, and that is a way to maintain appropriate boundaries between you, Mackenzie, as a resident of Tolland, and you, Mackenzie, as a Board of Education member, because the public will be confused, right? And think that you're speaking on behalf of the board, and you might be the only person on the board that has those feelings, right?
Right.
And so we just have to be thoughtful about that. And the social media policy also really, I think, does a good job of reminding people what appropriate speech, what is First Amendment protected speech and what isn't, and where we draw the line and what the boundaries are between not First Amendment protected and First Amendment protected. So that's why I think it might be worth you guys just taking a look at.
Absolutely. You mentioned you have like a model.
Yeah, we have a model policy for
We did-
board members
did talk
specifically. Yeah,
But that's,
because this comes up a lot.
it has.
Yeah.
Plenty.
Just chair of the policy committee, Dr. Willett can pass that
Right.
into you.
Yeah, that's best.
Okay, so do you want me to send that to Dr. Willett? Because I can do
Yeah,
that
if you
tomorrow.
could.
Okay, all right,
Fantastic.
perfect. I'll do that.
We're good.
All right, well, in your spare time, you can certainly go through
Is
the
there
many
anything, is
scenarios.
there any other scenario you think is important to highlight before we go?
And you guys have so much to do, so we can always meet again,
Yeah,
but
and if anyone has any specific questions, email them to me and I can pass them on to Dr. Willett to pass on to Jessica.
okay, great. Well, thank you guys. It was really nice to
Thank
see you all. Nice to meet our new members.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Did you want me back?
No, you guys can keep them. Fun reading.
Thanks.
And all of our communications with Jessica passed through Jen, to Dr. Willett, Jessica.
Yeah, and that's an important point. So
Mackenzie, excellent question. You ask really good questions. So what I would say is legally, our firm will only authorize, this is part of our engagement letter, we only authorize a board chair or superintendent to incur legal expenses. So Jaden called me and said, Jess, I really need to talk to you about something. I would do this for anyone. I'd have to say, okay, Jaden, I first need permission from Jen. Yeah, to talk to you. And Jen either will or will not give me permission. If she says you can call Jaden, I can call Jaden. Same thing, like if an administrator tried to reach out to me for legal advice, I'd have to say, do you have permission from Dr. Willett to reach out to me? So that's part of the engagement letter and our ethical responsibilities, because otherwise anyone could incur legal fees and we want to manage that. You're not free. So, right. I got 2 kids to send to college. So. All right. Well, thank you guys very much.
Thank
Take
you.
care.
Okay, so why don't we pop back up to the superintendent's report? K1 is to begin Board of Education goal setting.
Okay, so, do you guys want to stretch for them?
Want to take a couple minute
You guys
recess?
can take a 2-minute strategy.
Okay, why don't we do that?
Want to do
We'll
that?
go mute online for a minute.
And the purpose of it is a short recess.
Yep, okay, so we're gonna take about a 5-minute recess. It's 8:58, so that puts us back at 9:03.
Yeah. Here, write it down. Sorry, gonna be a long meeting. Write it down and email it.
All right, we're back from recess. So Dr. Willett, can you please start us with K1, begin the Board of Education goal setting?
Sure. So what we're looking to do here, and you may have noticed this, senior or rather veteran members of the board, on the BOE dashboard, there is the goal setting link that brings you to our goal setting process. And those of you who have been on the board know that, we've gone through this process in the past. Typically, the Board of Ed will choose goals about every 2 years because the shortest term for board members is 2 years. You have the 2 and the 4. But there is a turnover of every 2 years, and that's usually when the board will review its goals again and then look forward to the next 2 years. So, veteran board members have been through this. New board members, you're just going through it for the first time. But the portal is the same portal. It's the same one we've used last time. It's available on the dashboard. And so
This is the 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 steps of the process that we'll follow. So tonight's purpose is just to bring you back to looking at this, okay? And ideally, I've met with some of the new board members, older board members know that it's there, but ideally, we would have looked at this before the meeting, but it's not the worst case scenario in the world if you haven't. It's just step 1 is, and each of these is linked. So when you go through it, you can click on these and it'll pull up that part of the goals process. Step 1 is simply looking at what the board goals have been, the current goals until you replace them. This is the current goals until you replace them. So this document is merely a reference document for you. And I won't go through all of these, but what this gives you is the board goals as they are at this moment until you replace them, the mission, vision, and portrait of a graduate of our school system, the district goals that are more traditional school improvement goals that an administrator might make that are more granular. And you'll see how it goes from sort of, as Attorney Ritter was saying, your broad policy thing down to what the granular level of what the admin are doing and then down for teachers. And then the continuous learning plan. The state of Connecticut requires that we have now what they call a continuous learning plan. It used to be called a teacher evaluation plan. The state of Connecticut's new language is continuous learning plan. You have a link to that so you can see what we are required to do for evaluations with teachers and administrators. And so that gives you an idea of how your goals, filter down to an admin's goals, filter down to say how the teachers and everything. Okay. So the continuous learning plan has changed some of the nature of goal setting for teachers. And so that's a whole nother thing that we could do maybe a 2-hour thing on. And maybe curriculum would want to pick that up at some point. They'll probably want that tonight, but that document's there for your perusal should you decide to look at that. So just to jump to board goals, these are the current Board of Education goals. And so they're engaged in a transparent, robust, and responsible budget process that maximizes innovation and efficiency, supports student growth, and is well communicated to the community. Then foster a data-driven, positive learning environment focused on strong academics, professional development, and a meaningful social and emotional support for students and staff. Next is nurture and support a just, equitable, and inclusive school community where all stakeholders are acknowledged and respected. And the fourth is ensure that your school properties provide strong safety, security, structure, and wellness conditions for all students and staff. You typically will have about 4 to 5 goals. So that's what the current ones are until you replace them. The process that you'll be going through between now and December 17th is you're going to have an opportunity to submit any goals you think would be worthwhile goals. So start thinking about that. And the more that you submit prior to that meeting, the less time you might be in the meeting because you'll have, things to talk about already. Not that you should worry about it, because if you come to the meeting and have some incredible epiphany, no problem, we'll add it there. But the point is between now and the 17th, please look at that goal doc, get a sense of what they were, kind of what a board goal is like. And then you can send in some of the goals here. So you'll notice there is a potential draft goals process form. This form will record your email, so you don't have to, sometimes people will look at it and go, how do you know who I am? Well, your email is actually recorded, especially if you're using the board email, right? If you try to use your personal email, it won't let you in. So sometimes people who have multiple Gmail accounts, have all kinds of things going on, they might click on something and it'll say, you do not have access. Before you go, damn, it might be because you are coming in accidentally through a personal one. This won't let you in if you're coming from a personal one. So you have to go in through the board one, but it'll record who you are when you do that, and then you can submit the goal. So share your idea, just type it out. If you want to put all of the goal ideas in one submission, feel free to do that. Just please separate them by some kind of space or carriage return. So that carriage return means, down the next line. So just make sure you're putting them in there that way. Now, one thing, Tolland has only 3 phases. There are power outages, things like that. So just, I wouldn't spend a whole hour with the form open, because if the power goes out or something and your form goes away, and you didn't submit it, it's gone into the ether. So, I would say maybe think about it, type them out ahead of time, and then you can just copy paste them. That's another way to do it. Unless I'm just advising because we are in winter time now, power goes out, things like that. I don't want anyone to get, frustrated with something like that. So that link is there. And between now and the 17th, please drop in as many goals as you can think of. Once you've read the whole document, have a sense of that. Then what we're going to do, once we get into that meeting, is we'll start discussing it, gathering more. And then between that point and step 3, you're going to be ranking them. Now, at that point, your names come off them. Once you've gotten to a certain point, there'll be a whole bunch of goals and you'll have thought amazing things. Now, there's so many amazing things you can do. You just can't do all of the amazing things. So you'll have to pick a couple of amazing things. And how do you do that? Well, you're blindly going to rank them. When I say blindly, you won't see a name next to it. So you're not going to be, looking at Walt School and going, hear that one. It's going to be just the merit of the goal itself. So you'll see them, you'll get to give it kind of a 1 to 5. And what happens at the end of that process is I bring you back the rankings, the data on the sheets, and I'll give you the mode, the median, the average, but also the mode, things like that. And you'll get to see which ones ranked at the highest and which ones were, really good, but not ranked as high. And at that point, once we're done with that, that's where you're starting to really refine and choose them. So in step 4, you've got the rankings, you've got all the information. Now you're really choosing your goals. So we'll do that part once we reach step 4. All of this is going to happen between December and January. And then the last step is January 28th. That's your victory lap. I'll bring more Hershey's. You can celebrate. We have it. This part of it is where you take the goal, and each of these blue areas will be every one of your goals. And we go through the following steps with each goal and have a conversation about it. So whatever the most wonderful goal is here for number 1, we'll say, what are our greatest hopes in the district for this area? You have a conversation about it. We report it. What are you willing to do to support this goal and to ensure that these expectations can be met? It could be things you direct me to do. It could be money you want put into it. There's all kinds of things like that. System accountability. What kinds of things do you want me to do at the end of the year to say, what we want superintendents to do 1, 2, and 3 in order to execute this goal. And then that's my marching orders type of thing. And then public support. Each goal generally needs to be supported by the public for them to be supportive of you and the system and so on. So what are the things you're going to do to interact with the community to make sure that goal is supported? And so we do that for each goal. Go ahead.
Do we talk about how we measure success of the goals?
Yeah, that's part on the system accountability.
Okay.
Like, what does success look like?
Okay.
Because that's actually very important for me. I want to make sure you all agree on what success
Fair.
looks like for something, especially if you want them to be doing.
Yeah.
Thing.
Fair.
And sometimes people don't agree on what that success looks like. We have a conversation about it. But usually in that meeting, we can bang those down. And then what happens is I will give you an update on these things in the summer, usually June and August, somewhere in the point that is a check-in where we talk about those things. And typically when we're getting into the end of the year, somewhere in the zone of the end of the year, we'll be talking about. Now, in this case, we're trying to do it as fast as we can. We have a November election that first year. It's a little truncated. It's short because you're making your decisions. It's already February. So we have February, March, April, May, and that's it. There's 4 months, so the amount of movement we can make on certain things, once you get into the second year of that term, there's more movement that can be made on such things. So that's part of what we keep in mind, like short-term, long-term on these.
Yeah, just real quick, I apologize if you said it earlier. Is this the email link for the submission of these on the updates?
Yep,
Dashboard
it's
update?
actually, if you are on the dashboard, there is a board goal icon you can
Oh,
click
right.
on, and it'll bring you right to here, and then just go to step 1. But
Okay.
I also just put it on the updates too, and
Wow.
as soon as we're done here, I'll blast that out as well.
All right, no
So that
problem.
link
Thank
is
you.
there. It's on a special portal for the new people. It's been on the board dashboard, for you guys. But I will send out a specific thing that is right up at the top.
I just wanted to clarify where it was. All right, thank you.
Yeah, no problem at all.
Can I say something?
Go ahead.
Please. as a new board, I think it's important for us to understand point of order for a meeting. And I think that this conversation with Dr. Willet's very important. I think the conversation with Ms. Ritter was very important. But I also want us to make sure that we're following Robert's rules as a team. And I know several of us are newer to what it is. And it took me a bit of time to get to know what Robert's rules are. But Dr. Willett is currently presenting to us the board goals process. But I think what we need to do to make sure that everybody has due time to ask their respective questions and have a good fluid conversation, that we need to raise our hand and be called on by our chair, whoever's running the meeting. So Jen's our chair. So having Jen call on us, and then we can go ahead and continue that conversation.
Jen, thanks, Jen. I appreciate it. Yeah, I'm just getting my sea legs too. So we'll just, so I understand there's gonna be a lot of times where we want to have a free conversation, but it is my biggest concern, I guess, is not realizing someone wanted to speak and letting other people continually speak without recognizing them. So, yeah, so just as a general rule, we should let, in this particular case, Dr. Willett finish his presentation, and then I'll open up for questions. And then you would be recognized by the chair by hand, but not a big deal.
And whatever the board wants is what I'll do, but,
I'd raise my
Thank
hand a wall at this point.
It wasn't,
No,
it's not you,
not.
Brian. It's the group as a whole.
Thanks, Marcia. Yeah, not,
We're all trying to figure this out.
No, it just so happened to be right after you spoke, so
No,
it wasn't Brian at all.
Bill.
Thank you. If Jen's not looking at you and I'm looking around or Dana's looking around, just get one of our eyes and we'll let Jen know that you're waiting. So it's not that you have to wait for Jen to see you, just flash your hand at Dana's eye and, we'll let Jen know.
Yeah, again, we're all just getting our sea legs here, trying to figure it all out, so. We'll
try
get,
not to throw it.
yeah,
No problem.
Dr. Willett, you're out of order. Okay,
Just the beginning.
go ahead. Thank you. Go ahead, Dr. Willett.
All right. So I think I've covered most of what you need to know. I don't want to belabor it and beat the horse here. So I think you have this. These are the steps. You have contact with me. You can send me a text or give me a call if you have any questions about how to do this, or if you're running into any errors or anything happening electronically. I'm happy and want to help you through it. So it's here. It's on the dashboard. It's in the the onboarding thing for the new people. And I will also be sending out this in an email directly as a link as well. So you'll have it in all these places. So just between now and the 17th, please just think of stuff and throw them in there and we'll start talking about it. Okay. Any other, Chair, do you want to entertain any other questions? What do you want
Anybody else have any questions for Dr. Willett? Go ahead, Jill.
Is there any like specific number you would like to see from us for these goals? Or I mean, just whenever we can get at it and.
No, I think as Dr. Willett said, like anything that you wanna put in, the more that we have, the more we have to look at. A lot of times, in the past, there's been things that were similar, but maybe, someone just highlighted one nuance and we combined things. So it's never, honestly, the most important part of this is coming in with all of us giving some level of feedback. But the more feedback that we have is always the better.
You are in the brainstorming stage at this point. So you're really dump it all in.
Okay.
That's, and if you want to see prior goals, there's a link here for looking at the past goals. And you can see going back years what the board's goals were. So that might give you some ideas too.
Dr. Willett, does CAPE have any resources, on thinking of goals? Or I'm trying to think of a way you could Google it without Googling it if you just wanted to see some broader ideas of what.
One great thing to do is just Google Board of Education goals.
And you will see
You'll get
other
a ton of them.
districts, yeah.
CAPE certainly has resources, but you have so many ways to look at this I would say, put in public school, if that will pertain
Yeah.
to kind of what you're looking at, but.
But it is, especially as a new member, it is hard to just come out of nowhere with it. So yeah, take a look at some stuff and ask questions. Mackenzie?
I just wanted to clarify, so this is something that we do as an entire board, not something that goes through one of the committees.
Right, so once we, like we said, once we do the brainstorm process, then we come in and we review the goals. And then if you do it like we did last year, Dr. Willett, you then condensed everything, and we didn't do it at that time. We were able to then add a Google form, do it on our own, And then when we come back into the meeting, we see the percentages of where everybody, like in a pie chart.
Right.
Of where everybody, right.
I'll do all the compiling work for you.
Cool.
And show you the
But
basic.
we do it all together the whole time. Yeah. Except when you're.
Yeah.
Fair.
Anybody else? Okay.
So then, after that happens, generally what will happen is I try to formulate my superintendent goals, although I have many, many things. Some goals I do for the board, I do have to also do things for the state. So I serve a few masters. The state wants me to do certain things. I have to do them whether the board makes them a priority or not. I have to do things that the state requires, and you want me to because you want us to be out of compliance. So there are things that I would have to do, and in pertaining to the continuous learning plan, all of those things. So there are many things that I would be doing that I have to do, or not. But what I try to do with this is, I will try to center the goals that I have. I'll show you an example of the previous, current goals, but how the superintendent goals rolled into the current board goals. So once you've got your goals, I take those goals, and there are many, many different things that a superintendent can be doing. So this is an example of what I did in the prior goal process. I took a series of superintendent goals. I put them in front of you. I take the board goal area that they fall within, and I also take the TPS continuous learning plan domain that they fall in. So you can see, okay, here's a goal, for instance, integrating greater than or equal to 5 vetted artificial intelligence programs to facilitate and enhance the educational practices of the district, for instance, right? That fell in under board goal 3, fostering data-driven positive learning environment, et cetera, et cetera. It also fell in under TPS continuous learning goal, building and strengthening learning and working environment, et cetera, right? So what I'll do is I put these goals in front of you guys. I align them with whatever the board's goals ultimately come up with are, and I align them with the TPS continuous learning plan because that's also part of the big responsibility that I have to do with the state of Connecticut. And I'll give you a lot of them. So you'll notice that I gave the previous board quite a few, and then you do a very similar thing. You will then look at that. We have a conversation about it, and then you rank the ones that you feel are most important. And we do a kind of ranking the way that we did a ranking with the board goals. And when the ones that come to the top of that ranking are typically the ones that I would then adopt as what my marching orders are from you under your board goals, now my superintendent goals. So you'll notice the ones that are highlighted, these were the ones that got the most attention in the past. These were the ones the previous board wanted me to focus on. And sometimes budgets will limit what we can do. Not all of the ones in yellow made it. Actually, only 4 of the ones in yellow made it, but I highlighted the ones that got some of the highest ones last time, and then they became 4 major goals that I pursued under the board's, overall umbrella. Now, the continuous learning plan, there's also 5 things the state of Connecticut requires me to do with the administrators for school improvement plans, and that's just a whole other layer of things, and that I have to do regardless, which is a good thing, but it is part of it. And from time to time, I will bring it to you and say, hey, this is part of the continuous learning plan of our state of Connecticut plan, and you can read about those. You'll see what those 5 areas are, and things we have to do for that too. So that's how this happens. We do board goals, then I take your goals and I take the continuous learning plan. I put out a bunch of things I think you might be interested in. You tell me which ones rank the highest, and that becomes my goal to do for you. And then you, at the end of the year, during evaluation process, that comes up too. How to do on that. Now, some of this, as we said, there are 4 months between sort of where we settle this, and even February is about when we'll have yours. You probably won't settle mine until, say, March. So there'll be March, April, and May. So the first year, it's kind of just like started some stuff. But then by the next year, those things are even more poignant for the end of the year. So this is just a flyover of how we do that. And then, you'll rank them, and by about the end of February, we should be done. with all of the goal setting. So, anybody, is that clear? Did anybody have any
Any
questions?
questions? Bill?
Are we? Is this the same schedule that we ran on last year? Cause I'm concerned about pushing into budget season if we push it out as far as the end of January.
Well, this, unless you want to add board meetings.
Well, I didn't say that.
That's right. This is probably as fast as you will go unless, and you know, I work for you, so whether you add board meetings or not, I'm okay with it, but, unless
Jen
you
pulled it up and I think she said we finished the board goals on the,
No, you had asked about budget.
Oh.
The superintendent's budget was presented to us on January 14th, and
Oh.
that's the de facto.
You will get my budget.
before we're done with the Board of Ed goals.
But,
Yeah.
your timeline is about as tight as it gets unless you want to add specific meetings for this purpose. You can add special meetings, which, you know, I'm doing the same work for you either way, but, it's up to you. It's really up to you. Typically, boards have, the past boards have done this in a 2-week iterations because they've needed a little time themselves to chew on it.
Just January, February is gonna be pretty heavy with budget.
Indeed.
Just sort of to that point, the first presentation of the budget, that's all it is, right? It's just a presentation of it, more so than it is us going back and forth, right? So I think that buys us another 2 weeks or something like that. So hopefully that makes it better. I just thought I'd mention that because that first, 14% or whatever.
Right, what you,
Last year.
I'll give you a very,
Right, so-
very fast flyby of that.
The superintendent's proposed budget is given to you the second Wednesday in January always. It has to be, given to you then. And so I give you my budget, you review my budget, and you spend basically a month chewing on it, deciding what you want to keep, what you want to get rid of, what you want the target percentage to be. And then you decide what the Board of Ed adopted budget is. You ultimately vote on a Board of Ed adopted budget. That becomes the budget I bring to the town manager. The town manager then looks at it, decides whether it gets, whether they can support a certain percentage or not. And then the town manager makes a recommendation to the town council. Town council then reviews all that and sets a budget. And we make adjustments based on whatever their percentage is. Then it goes to referendum. If it passes once, all set. If it doesn't, comes back and we have to make adjustments based on whatever. So that's the plan.
So that was a lot of information. So if you're unfamiliar with the budget process, we do have a document that's called the budget calendar. Is that what it is?
Yep.
So, which is on the Board of Education website. And that will lay out everything Dr. Willett just said in a much more digestible fashion. When is that calendar prepared?
That's pretty good.
Well, it was a lot. It's a lot of data. It's been a night of a lot of data. When do you prepare that budget calendar by? Because that's when we'll be
So
able.
it's actually there. There's a budget calendar on the budget page of the website. I didn't put a special one out because it's on the website. So that would be right here.
Oh, yeah. So the one I was looking at was this year's. I thought I was looking at last
Oh,
year.
so I will put it right up there on your
You
desk.
haven't adjusted the dates.
The reason why this one is, because this is on your main site.
Oh, okay.
Fiscal year 27, this is your budget schedule. And it actually gives you everything for this year.
But it says January 2025 on the left. I don't have my glasses on.
27
Okay.
top.
It's okay. The reason I think you might be looking at one that was posted a while back.
This was 20.
This one is the one that is on the website.
I'm looking at that one
Okay.
and I'm seeing week of 1/5/2025.
Keep scrolling down.
Well,
Dr.
now,
Willett.
well,
So we should just,
Okay. So that particular,
one little date,
that little cell, yeah, that's a
Yeah.
typo. That's a typo.
and that just happened to be the cell that I looked
Yeah.
at. Okay.
Good work.
That cell should say.
I'm doing a lot right now.
But then the rest of them are, so yes.
Thank you.
So we'll get that one turned over, but this is that calendar and it is the less short version. of What I just said, but it's got more detail.
Okay. Any other questions? When do we vote on the budget?
Which time?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I feel elementary.
No, that's fine. Before it goes, yeah, our adopted budget, so that is,
This one right here on the February 11th,
yeah.
you will vote on it on February 11th.
In there.
Now, by charter,
That's fair.
it has to be given by meeting to the town manager by the 14th.
Okay.
But you have to, in this case, because your meeting is on the 11th, that's the closest range that, you know.
Right.
So you'll have, you'll be basically making your board adopted budget that night. You'll be
Right.
voting it in. You're long.
Okay. Anything else? Any other questions about superintendent goals? We're gonna have lots of time to talk about budget. Yes, sorry. No, that's okay. All right. So that brings us.
I'm
to-
sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
Did we decide to leave the goal schedule as is, or did we want to accelerate the schedule?
I don't think we can. I mean, now
Okay.
thinking about when you think about January 28th, that's 3 meetings from now. Yep. Okay. Okay. So that brings us to M, old business, of which there is none, and board action, that is the school calendar, and this is the second read. Want to take us through that, Dr. Willett? Briefly?
I'm gonna get us back to. So I can get us back to that folder. I apologize. Many screens. But I'll start blabbing about it while I'm mixing this up. So as you recall, Board of Ed, you had the calendar as a first read. You're at the point in the process where tonight you could pass the calendar, in which case it goes into action as the calendar for next year. Generally, the public does appreciate getting the calendar as soon as you can pass it because they start making their plans for their stuff too. So this mostly was covered last time. Nothing really has changed. We did make one adjustment to the calendar, which was somebody wanted to have a label put on the February date that just made it more clear that that was an in-service, but that's the only other thing. So there's nothing really new about it for you guys. That's just something to make that day more obvious to people. So let's see, here it is. Right. There's a draw. And as you recall, the item is the same as last time, so there's nothing new about that here. Same in the general stats.
I thought were you trying to pull up something specific? No,
No,
you're all set.
this is it. Yeah, it's in the packet too.
I'm sorry. I thought
I
you-
have it, same thing as last year. I'm trying not to say too much here because
No,
don't want to suck up all the oxygen in the room.
yeah, and it is the second read, so. Okay, go ahead, Jamie.
I was just gonna, can you repeat what you said about what the small clarification change?
Yeah, I'll show you right here.
But I thought you were correct.
See this in February, how that's 17th?
Yep.
That is a in-service day,
Okay, so it's being added.
but that it is orange, in which case if you look down at what orange means, it
Right.
means in-service day. But there was a comment, say in this area, in-service day, the 17th. So they just coded, colored the correct thing and that matches the legend at the bottom, but someone said.
Kids are not bad,
The
but.
legend on the right is incorrect, though.
So well, it's not so much incorrect as someone felt right here, just put the words in service day and the 17th so that people will understand. So February
Still great for
17th,
Students.
February 17th is correctly labeled for parents,
Right.
but teachers may not realize that the 17th is an in-service day if we don't put the words in service day.
Yeah.
Okay.
The color is there and it's the correct color and it is labeled at the bottom as in-service day. It was just that people felt it would be helpful if it actually said
Right.
service.
Jane, you still.
So just on that, the only change then is the words are going up in the top portion. That's it.
Yeah, it's almost not something,
That's
it's more clarity than it is making a policy decision about whether you have a day or not.
Right.
Like you might say, I don't want this many hours or whatever, that would be a change, fundamental change. This is just making it more clear. So like if once you've decided on things, I can't change the number of ER days, for instance. But I could, if somebody said, oh my gosh, there's that 6 looks like an 8, I can go in and fix something like that. So that's the reason I'm there sharing it. That's really all that I've been. That was it in the 2 weeks. That's what came up was, hey, can you make that say in service day? Sure.
You know, set, Jaden?
Yeah, thank you.
Come back.
All right, I wasn't here for the first read. Everybody knows I love the calendar.
Yeah, we're prepped for this.
That was my birthday, so I was not here. The only thing I'd say that I believe that the start of the school year looks good, getting before Labor Day. As a lot of parents, multiple parents have written in over the year, regarding that. The one thing I would say, I would push to have the Thanksgiving the 25th, even if we have a full day, but an early release day for that. So we don't have the last day of school potentially being on a Monday. As I know there was even some concern last year with the days that it was like, how many do we realistically feel that we're gonna have attendance on a Monday after a weekend for the last day of school? Seems like quite a few people most likely will not attend that day. So I would think maybe we should consider moving that one day on the 25th to an early release day, and then we can knock that out and have the last day of the 11th of June. And the other day that I know that we did this year coming up is I believe having school on the 16th, because we just had 2 weeks off for the holiday, that we're already having another 3-day weekend, like 5 weeks later in February, to get kids still continuing back in school. Because there's so many early release days, especially even we're having the 17th off already, to have another 5 days off seems a bit much when we just had 2 weeks off the month prior. So that'll be my input and take on the calendar that's been presented to us.
And, I just want to clarify one thing first, only because the point that you brought up about the day before Thanksgiving, I believe what was explained was that concern was balanced at policy with the opposing concern of the lack of academic time for kids. And if it's a half day that or learning loss, that particular argument that always comes up, the half day would then be something that didn't need to be made up, rather than having a full day. The half day counts as a full day. So they were weighing that balance between, extending the school year a day, or having that, loss of learning by having a half day before a holiday and not really getting a lot of academic time done.
Well, how about
Is that-
zero academic time on the last day, being it's a Monday that most people most likely are in those counties?
Yeah, no, I understand. I don't know if you want to,
We even had that this
I
year.
just wanted to
Yeah.
give you the argument that was pretty,
No,
that I don't know if you want to, if.
Yeah,
I think you
I'm
wanted
just
to add.
referring to my
I
notes.
spoke
too.
for policy.
No, you're fine. Yeah, so we were talking about, we went over that specifically with that one is attendance opportunities or losses on that day before Thanksgiving because of family travel. We also are weighing having the half day versus the full day. And like you said, the actual academic activity that's having on that half day. I believe we also, correct me if I'm wrong, Dr. Willett, in October, we lessened a half day and did a full day and a half, right? We, instead of doing 2 half days and a full day,
You did modify
we
that.
lessened that. So therefore we added the day off in November. So this current calendar year, this October, there was 2 half days and a full day off. this next calendar year, we proposed one half day and one full day off. So that gave us the opportunity in November to also have that full day, so that in theory didn't really impact the last day of school. We kind of moved it around to modify that.
Thank you. I'm gonna go to Angela.
I just want to reiterate about the 25th, and I said this at the last meeting, but obviously you weren't here. From my perspective, given the fact that that Wednesday this year was a half day, there was, I noticed from a student perspective, significantly less attendance because a lot of people thought that it didn't matter. And I'm not going to say it didn't matter, but I am going to say that in multiple classes I did watch movies. Educational, but I did watch movies. So, and I mean, I know for the high school on Monday, for the last day of school, I'd have to be there, I'd have to take exams. So I think based on what I know, you would see higher attendance on that Monday than you would on the Wednesday, the 25th.
That was an excellent point that I didn't even think of. That's the difference when you're at the high school. There's actually exams scheduled that day, so you have to be there.
Yeah, that's for 4 grades and the other 8 don't though, right?
Yes,
So,
also a good point. Go ahead, Bill.
Dr. Willett, if we have a snow day in this schedule, does making up that day go to the end?
It does unless the board decides to take it out of April 4th.
So when was the last time that the board approved a calendar with the last day on a specific date that it didn't get changed? Never.
I would say, basically, safe.
So
I don't usually use it, but I would say if you're northeast, you're gonna have some kind of.
we're gonna have a couple snow days. So the likelihood of that last day being that Monday is slim to none.
Right.
Unless we decide to take spring break away,
Right.
which would be a
you might-
very
you
popular
might get public
decision.
participation. On that. Yeah, you do.
Jane, did you ever hear that?
Bill just made the exact point.
Oh, okay.
Out of-
I wanted spring break taken away?
No, God,
Oh,
I was, as an employee who works in education, no, those breaks are helpful. But I was just gonna say, in 12 years of being in, K through 12 education, and 4 years working in a school and 4 years being on this board, I don't think we've ever ended on the projected day, final day of school. And so that's where the comfort grew in our conversations for me, because I understand that point, Brian, of why would you come in, like, why would you?
I will not be here. I'll be in South Carolina.
Right, and so but again, the rarity that it is, impossibility almost, I'm gonna call it, because again, out of all those years of this happening, I've never ended on that projected final day. It's always been pushed because of, maybe we lost power because of wind, not even snow, not even ice, but wind, so there's all sorts of little factors. The many make a muckle. Eventually they're gonna add up to something. And so, so that's just sort of where I grew a little more comfortable, because again, I understand the point, but, I just don't see it being likely we end on the.
And to that point, if we back it off to Friday and we get a snow day, we're back at Monday.
Back on Monday. So,
I understand, I understand what.
No,
you're
it's
saying, yeah.
totally understand the point. I didn't think it all the way through until we had the conversations. Jane, are you all set?
yeah, thanks.
Go ahead, Jane.
The other point to take into consideration, you talk about the snow days. We do live in New England. I'm not on what, I don't want to say it. We haven't had harsh. I don't want to say it, but
Yeah, Bill?
you guys get my point. But okay, I'm not gonna say it. But there was a time when I was on the board when we were in the 20s of June,
Sure.
ending school. And we did have to have the conversation, are we gonna do April break? Are we gonna do February break? So granted, this is a great baseline for our families, specifically start date. That's always huge, right? April vacation, Thanksgiving break, the holiday vacation, and then, February break have been hot topics that I've encountered. Albeit, yes, I don't disagree. If Monday's the last day of school, it's a tough pill to swallow, right? You want to go on your vacation, but anybody does. I get that, but the reality of living where we are, we can't be set and finite with that ever, because there's a multitude of reasons that we may have to take. I mean, like you said, with Birch Grove, before it came down, there was a wind day because of the awning. And it's like, it was a wind day. And then the high school last year had a heater day. right? So the high school actually extended one day last year. This.
Yeah.
Yeah, and because I remember there was, you know, it's not fair, you don't have to go to school, why do I? They don't have to, so the high school had one extra day than the other three schools. So we always have to kind of, obviously, we want to have the best blueprint we can for our families and our students and our staff. But we have to obviously try to make concessions and the best decisions and balance. Because, you know, nothing's gonna be.
Anybody else?
No, okay, would anyone like to propose a motion at this time?
Is there a motion available?
Yes.
Motion to accept the Tolland Public School 2026-2027 calendar.
Second.
Any discussion? No? All right, let's do a roll call vote. Jada,
Aye.
Kenzie, Brian,
Nay.
Bill,
Aye.
Dana.
Aye.
JP.
Aye.
Elaine.
Aye.
Joelle.
Aye.
And I am an aye, so that passes. Okay. All right, so we are back to public participation. We have a 2-minute limit. Dr. Willett, can you get the timer ready? All right. Would anyone in the room like to speak at this time? Go ahead, Beckett, name and address.
Yeah, Beckett Murray, 8 Lisa Lane. Going back to that calendar thing, this year was the first year I could ever remember having the 25th, or not necessarily the 25th, but that Wednesday we have school. There was very low attendance numbers among my peers that day, and it was widely unpopular among the students and staff. Because it was almost a point of pride that Tolland did not have to go in on that day. And a lot of the other districts do have to go in, and people, like, a lot of people were happy historically that we had a day off before Thanksgiving to go travel. And it was like a disruption this year. And we didn't do anything. We watched documentaries. We played games. We didn't, like, it was unproductive because there wasn't a point to start anything that day because everyone would forget it over that long weekend. So having a Monday, which would be an exam day, would be more productive. Because for the high school, if you don't do a final exam, your grade is lowered by 10%. I mean, that's tough luck if you don't go. But, like, I know I personally like that Monday. I also, like, sitting here today, I was happy to see that this board works together well. And from the other boards I've been on, I've seen more, or not been on, but attended, I saw some more interfighting, and that worries me. But sitting here, I saw like a willingness to work together, and that makes me hopeful that this year might be a good year for the Tolland public school system. Thank you.
We don't have anyone online, so would anyone else in the room like to speak? No? Okay, that brings us to, we can close out public participation. Thank you, Dr. Phillip. That brings us to points of information. Would any board members like to speak at this time?
First, I just want to express appreciation for particularly the presentation that Jessica gave, Attorney Ritter gave. It's probably on here. Yep, it is. And generally just the overall effort put into some board onboarding. You don't know what you don't know, right? Until you come on here. And I feel like all of the past members and Dr. Willett and obviously Attorney Ritter have gone out of their way to help with some very complex topics and provide a lot of information. Particularly the way the goals are set up is just
really, really easy to follow, and I really appreciated the dashboards. I wish we had infinite time to go over what Attorney Ritter was walking through. So my only recommendation is, and I'm sure that, as an attorney, she may not want to put the answers in writing, but having some of the answers to some of these questions might be helpful, not only for the ones we don't get to, but as a reference point, some of the ones that we do get an opportunity to do. So my only suggestion.
You're right, maybe let's make a brief request, because if you look at the presentation, it says like, is it legal? I mean, that's something we could, there's obviously nuances, but it would still maybe some yes or no's there. Because I mean, I would have the same, I really saw this board so engaged with what Attorney Ritter was showing us. And I personally love that Mackenzie and maybe others want to keep looking at the packet. So maybe we could ask Jessica if that would be okay, something very quick.
Yeah, I mean,
Don't spend any more money on
but you know, a lot of the questions that have been asked before, so I
Yeah,
think
maybe
they'll get
you-
answered. Yeah, there's a lot of them that I can answer.
Would that be? So, I mean,
Either way,
Okay.
right?
Either
But
way,
it's a
sure.
great resource to have, and
I think you're.
like, you know, like I said, you don't know what you don't know. So situations that I wouldn't have imagined that we may encounter, right? Just some general guidance about our role and expectations, especially when the question is this legal or not, would be helpful.
I would kind of suggest also, and I like what Mackenzie said, but taking that out of this forum. And I know that's another meeting we're gonna have to attend, but I'm used to these for 30 years, rights, responsibilities in military every year. Right, but taking out of this environment where we're, I don't know if this has to be filmed or not, while we're, on Zoom.
You mean like an executive session?
Yeah, just a session where, we got the free range and we have her right in front of us and we can ask the questions and, and get more involved with the scenarios like you just said. I think it's helpful, at least for the new people.
Yeah, the only thing is, executive session is reserved for specific purposes, contractual purposes or, like for personnel legal proceedings. So, it's a great idea, but you would have to do that session in public session.
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
clarification. Anybody else? Dana?
On the Board of Ed dashboard, you posted the instructional rounds.
Yes.
It says January 22nd, 2025, and April 8th, 2025
Oh,
for B.
okay.
And I just want to know if you were compiling all the.
That should say 26.
No, I know it's probably a typo because that's what happens in January every month.
Yep.
So I just want to confirm. So it's January 22nd, 26th, 2026.
Yes.
So
What
these are the upcoming school calendar.
Yes, they are. And what happens next is I send out a sign up form.
Okay.
It has some more info and that, but yeah, I was trying to get that out before the board meeting.
And they're phenomenal.
Anybody else? Okay, I just want to say, and I will say it quickly so that we don't have to take a motion for 10 o'clock, but
No.
given honestly what Beckett said and what Mackenzie said, just makes me want to make this point more. I really appreciate everyone's patience while, like I said, I get my sea legs. The point that Dana brought up, speaking out of turn or not being recognized by the chair. It is such a fine line for me because I so much want everyone to feel heard. And I don't want anyone to ever feel like I am trying to control what gets said in this room or your opportunities to speak. And by the way, it is really kind of strange to do the process that we do, right? Human nature is to have a discourse of back and forth, right? So I understand that just may happen anyway. And there were times where I felt, I didn't get to express what I wanted to, and I never want that for you. At the same time, I understand that may happen, but, so I am treading that lightly, but to Dana's point, obviously to have a well-run meeting, we need to make sure that we follow the rules in front of us. So, but again, I hope no one takes any offense by that because it truly is so natural to have the discussions that we're all having the way that we're having them. And I want you all to feel valued and respected. So my biggest concern with that would just be that someone felt ignored and then I'm not respecting them on the flip side. So again, just thank you for your patience and I will continue to try to get better at this whole leading a meeting thing.
Can we get you a gavel so you can bang it? Just say.
Funny you should say that because another chair did get a gavel. Okay. What did I learn from town council?
Yeah.
Are there any objections to adjournment?
No.
Seeing none, we can adjourn at 9:53. Thank you.